The following live stream has been approved for appropriate audiences. It may contain occasional strong language and may not be suitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer inebriation is advised, though not mandatory.
Good evening, happy Friday, and welcome to Last Call. You know, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11 reads, "When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, and I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things." Yeah, if that were true, we wouldn't be talking about 90% of the things we do on this channel. Rather, when I was a child, I was into gross things, scary things, and so were most of my friends. And that's pretty much still true. I'm still into gross, scary things, and my friends, y'all are here for it. So top off your glasses, tell me what you're sipping on in the chat, and we'll get to talking about the toys and games of the horror variety we enjoyed growing up. Salute.
Last Call is streamed before a live audience.
Welcome, va salud. Yeah, okay. I didn't quite center these the way I might have liked. Let's try that again. There we go. Welcome, everybody. How y'all doing? Yes, I am sipping on a... Oh, it's a little blurry. You can't see it, can you? It's a... what is this? It is apple pie moonshine. I figured it was appropriate for the harvest season. The brand name is Conjugal Visit. Seemed like a good idea to me. Although I didn't think maybe it wasn't such a great idea to try giving my wife moonshine, so she's having a spiced apple wine. Called A Witch's Brew, also in keeping with the season. So I guess I've kind of already told them what you're sipping on, Netter. But how are you doing, my dear? And how was your day? How was your week?
I am actually also sipping on a Diet Dr. Pepper because it's been a week. It's been a day. For whatever reason, I seem to have... Well, actually, I know why. I have an overload of work. One of the people in my company that I do purchase requests for decided that he was going to tell me that he needed me to do purchase requests for him for about 70 of his... No, I don't think it was that many. It's probably closer to 60 of his SOWs, statements of work. It was like he did the statements of work and then didn't say anything. And so I'm asking one of his coworkers about it, going, you know what's going on with this. Who's doing his POs, his purchase requests? She goes, I don't know. I guess it's going to be you. So I get a spreadsheet sent to me with all of these SOWs on there that I need to purchase requests for. I have 18 I haven't touched yet that I have... mapped out on my own spreadsheet on how I need to put them together. And there's an additional 17 that I haven't gotten the signed SOWs for, so I can work on those. It's just kind of like, you know what, those are going to the side because, no. That on top of just people going crazy with this new system we have. It's called PandaDocs, and we're supposed to do all of our new SOWs in there. We got one training class. That was it. And I'm supposed to figure this thing out.
So I didn't follow any of that other than my wife is way overworked by an understaffed company, and she's had a week, and so she deserves a little witch's brew.
On top of that, I'm trying to be monetized, and we were talking about this last night on Thursday Things. So I'm starting to go through steps because I got my 3,000 watch hours. Woo! Now, there's 3 steps you got to take. The first one is you accept their terms of service. No big deal. Took me all 5 minutes to read through it and hit the yes, I accept button. Second button is getting set up with their AdSense. Oh my goodness. Apparently I had an AdSense account already and didn't know it. So they told me I needed to close it. Fine, I closed it. They're still insisting I have it open. Then they're telling me that I've been denied, but won't tell me why. So I click on their little hyperlink and it tells me, oh, we need your text information. It's like, you couldn't just say this. So I did that. And now they're still trying to tell me I have another AdSense thing open. It's like, people, get your act together, telling me what's wrong instead of making me try and guess. So yeah, it's been that kind of a week.
There you go. Well, salute. Agent Boomer, my friend, are you back?
I'm back.
Welcome back. How are you doing, and what are you sipping on?
I forgot my drink. I have myself a Minute Maid fruit punch made with real fruit juice, and it has the pear and looks like a cherry and an orange and a pineapple on the can, so we know it's authentic.
There you go. There you go. As long as there's pictures of what's in it, there we go. It's pretty good. Oh, that sounds good. Let me tell you something. This really does taste like apple juice, but shortly after going down, it has that cottony drying thing going on your tongue because of the high alcohol count.
Well, you'll need a glass of water, maybe.
Maybe, but let's quick say hi to the chat before we get too far into this. Before I get too far into this, starting with Lady Mist, who is here at 2:30 this afternoon. She says, hello, last call to Troy Pacelli, and good evening, Netters Network. And I'm not sure if she was planning on not being here, but it's going to be a little while before we get to all the rest of you, because she's actually, as of right now, she's the fourth panelist. Let's see. My grandfather knew when people were going to die. One afternoon, after waking from a nap, he rushed in to where my grandmother was and told her one of the grandchildren was in grave danger. They started calling each of their children, the closest one first because of the way the phones worked back then, telling them to check their kids. After calling the first three with no problems, they called their last daughter that was with her husband, who was stationed in Alaska, and told her to check on her baby. She told them she had just left his room with him sleeping and he was fine, but my grandfather was insistent that she go back again, now just so he could rest easy. My grandmother said they could hear my aunt's screams on the phone. Her baby was dead. He'd gotten his head stuck between the crib bars and had choked to death. A few years later, my grandfather told my grandmother he was going to go be with Junior this afternoon. Junior had died years before of leukemia. He was my grandparents' first grandchild. When my grandmother went to wake him for dinner from an afternoon nap, he had already joined Junior. One of my cousins had this same thing and died the same way, just hugged her mother and said she was leaving today, and when Aunt went to check on her, she had passed away. So I don't really have any scary monsters or things that go bump in the night. Well, maybe a few. Or they both knew when a lot of people were going to die through the course of their lives. LOL, there are no scary toys, but a few games had their moments. One of the first ones was Doom. The soundtrack in the parts that were pitch black were unnerving. And movies will be the first, The Haunting in 1963. I think one with Julie Harris, and The Uninvited in 1944, Ray Milland, Ruth Hussey, and Donald Crisp. Still no scary toys. Of course, I may have gotten tonight's topic wrong. And my mom's homes still lived in, were all haunted by something. So we started at 2:30. We're now at 4:55. There would be a first Doom game. Bad graphics by today's standards, but in its time, playing it in the dark on a windy night made it scarier. That goes for The Haunted, too.
I still play Doom.
Oh, yeah.
You can still get it. In fact, they did a recent remaster of it recently. And if you want, you can even lower the resolution and play it with the very old style graphics, or you can play it a little bumped up, with all the accoutrements we have now. You can do it, and you can mess around with the settings, which is kind of neat. Yeah. For those who want
then the first Resident Evil is good too, sort of scary. Yeah, there
I like
you go.
it. The worst part of the first Resident Evil game is you're running down this empty hallway. You're running down. Through the window crashes a undead Doberman Pinscher running at you, and I screamed. I'm like, because I'm just running down the hall, and then this thing busts out, and it's this evil, horribly snarling zombie dog. Okay, I'm like, no,
there you go.
no.
Mark Malnikoff says, "Hopla! I've beamed down to the right place. This is the blood wine, and this is the barrel." Well, this definitely could pass for blood wine. Drink full and descend into Gathor. The targ is the white of the eyes and the dishonor within. Lady Miss goes on to say, Phantoms was a good book to read at Halloween time. Not the stupid movie, but the book was sort of scary. There you go. Let's see here. And then, of course, FKHC 2005, whom we all know as Tim, says, hail, welcome. And Curtis Selby, welcome. Good to see you, my friend. Tim Hayes, hail. Let's see here. JPRPH1, welcome, my friend. Great stories, Lady Miss. Yes, thanks for sharing. Absolutely. And, of course, hail to the chat from Connie Cleary. Welcome, the Birdwoman of YouTube. Oh, and John says, hail to the most extraordinary, to the host extraordinaire. Last call to Troy Pacelli. Thank you. I'm glad you specified. Otherwise, I would have assumed you meant one of these two. I mean, that would have been perfectly reasonable, too.
Honey, they were talking about me.
Of course. Big Al presents. Hello, everyone. Have a great stream tonight, my friends. I will be looking forward to hanging out with him when we will be watching Psycho. And this is my custom collection that I made. This is my own cover. It includes Psycho, Psycho 2, Psycho 3, Psycho 4, The Beginning, which 4 is actually a prequel.
It's like a prequel, but also after. Yes, I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bates Motel, not the series, the movie from 1987.
Oh, yeah, I'd heard of that, not seen it.
And the 1998 remake of Psycho, just because I am a completist.
Did you gonna tell them what happened yesterday when you were looking for that?
Oh, yeah. So those of you that were listening last night may have already heard this story. I'm looking and I'm going, tomorrow night Saturday night is Psycho. I better make sure I pull that out so I can, rip that and, put it up on Cosme. And then I go to the shelf and I'm like, I can't find my Psycho. And Edward's like, I'm right here. I'm like, no, I can't find the disc. She's like, oh. And I'm looking around, only come to realize, well, because it's in one of these custom boxes that I made with a custom cover.
Right.
I had pulled them all down for The Other Side of Midnight to show them off.
Oh.
So I had them in a separate pile. But I went and grabbed it because obviously I had to, get that ready. And now I've already shown it off, so I'll go ahead and put it away after the movie tomorrow because, I've already shown it off.
Gus Van Sant, he's directed the Psycho remake. Ty West, a horror movie director, he said that the Psycho remake was one of the greatest experiments in movie making because it says that you can take an original movie and try to recreate it shot for shot, and it can still be worse than the original movie because there is something about the actual director, the original director, that made it work. And the funny thing was, the performances I didn't think were terrible. In fact, I liked William H. Macy in the remake. I thought he was really good in that scene. Yeah, but he was comparable to the original actor.
But here's the thing, and we've talked about this about many movies we've talked about before, that sometimes just one actor. You might watch it for. There are movies that I have watched specifically for. What's his name? Oh gosh, you guys know. He was in he was in Chicago as Mr. Cellophane. He's the one in all those the Yup gifs that you see online. Oh, I'm forgetting his name, and that's terrible because that's his whole thing.
Oh, wait a minute.
Who are you trying
Because
to
he's
look
Mr. Cellophane.
yeah, I got his face in my head, and I'm trying
Hold
to think of
on,
his name.
I'll find him.
Somebody's. You know what? Let me go to the end of the chat here.
I'll
Somebody's
look
going to say it right here. I know.
Isn't it John?
John C. Riley.
John
Thank
C.
you.
Riley.
There you go.
There was
I
a
helped.
fun. They did a parody movie of all these biopics that came out of famous musicians like
Yes.
like Walk.
Yes.
It was called Walk Hard. I think it was making
Walk
fun of
Hard.
Yeah.
And
The funny thing about casting John C. Riley in the role is that John C. Riley is actually a good singer and musician. He can actually, even though it's a parody, he can still do. That's why they had him in Chicago too. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and to me, that number, Mr. Cellophane, is the just show-stopping number.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it about Chicago. Chicago, everyone was great in that. I mean, better than they had any right to be. But there are other movies I've seen him in where I'm like, the only reason I'm bothering with this movie is for him. And he's a background character. He's a minor character, you know? And there's a lot of movies like that. And when you look at...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, he was really good in a movie called Hard Eight. I recommend Hard Eight. It's about Reno. It's he's like a scammer in Reno.
A hard 8 is when you roll 2 4s.
Yes, and Gwyneth Paltrow's in it, playing a lady of the hour, so to speak, if you know what I mean. And
Yes.
it's an interesting. It's
Legal
a
in
great character
Nevada,
piece.
but not necessarily in Las Vegas.
Right.
Just-
It's a great character study, that movie.
Yeah.
If you like casino crime style movies, I recommend it. Yeah.
But what I was leading up to is, for example, I like Vince Vaughn. I
Yeah, he's
really
good.
do.
He's a good actor.
But I did not like his version of
No.
Norman Bates. He was not there. There was a exponential amount of nuance that Anthony Perkins brought to it. And I'll probably talk a little bit more about this tomorrow.
Yeah.
But Anthony Perkins, not that he was a murderer. He was not a murderer.
No,
I am
no.
not casting any aspersions.
No.
But he did draw on things in his own life
Yeah.
that I'll talk more about that tomorrow. That's a different
I've
topic.
compared because I've read portions of the book. The scene where he's talking to what's her name? The one who's running away, stops by the motel. Marion Crane. When he's talking to her in the book versus how he talks to her in the movie.
Yeah.
In the book, he's a lot more erratic in the dialogue when he's talking to her in that scene when he's meeting her, giving her the lunch in her hotel room.
Yes.
Whereas in the movie, it's a lot more subtle. And it really took Anthony Perkins to drive that dialogue out. Like there's something there under the surface, like especially when he's talking about putting his mother, you could have your mother put away, and how he kind of reacts to that. But then he down, it's there, but it's not overt. It's very creepy. How he
Sometimes
does
an
it.
actor just brings a subtlety.
Yeah.
And I like to point this out when we do our watch parties, right? I point out, that look says so much. And I've been falling back on this in my analysis of many things lately. They say a picture paints 1,000 words. Well, if that's true, then a moving picture, tells, maybe 1,000,000 words. I mean, it's and I don't think enough directors in the modern day understand that. Classically trained directors, Tom Conkle, for example, he knows that, right? But then he's drawing off of directors like Alfred Hitchcock and so forth, who understood that too. Quentin Tarantino actually also does too. He doesn't always draw on that, but he does know that. Let me get back to saying hi to everybody before we get completely derailed. David Pensack says, "Okay, who's got the good stuff to drink?" Just saying, my friend. This stuff is It's cloudy. It is cloudy. It is, wow. It is, kind of burns a little bit in the chest here. And he says, good evening. Good evening, my friend. Good to see you. And Space Fraggle, good evening, Troy. Good to see you, my friend. And Deleted Scenes, salute. Good to see you, my friend. I need an adult. I need an adult.
Don't we all? There are no adults
Yeah,
here.
right. Yeah, I was going to say, this is probably not the stream for you. That welcome, Logical Spark. He says, hey there, everyone. Good to see you, my friend. Sipping on some H2O, preferably not tap water. Hopefully it's something that doesn't have a bunch of chemicals in it. Make America healthy again.
From the fridge.
That helps. That helps. Yeah.
Diet
Dr. Pepper. I actually have a chaser of Diet Dr. Pepper myself here, Space Travel. Let's see. And hail, Matanui. Good to see you, my friend. And what proof? That's a good question. Let's see. Let me see. It is.
Here's the proof. It's liquid.
I don't know. Let me do this. Yeah, it's proof. Let me go full screen.
100.
I don't know. Can you read that? I might. Oh no. Unfortunately,
I can't read that.
Hold on.
Whoa!
It is too blurry.
It's 60 proof.
60
Net
proof.
30%
That's
alcohol. Wait, put it back. 60 proof, 30% alcohol by volume, 750 milliliters.
a lot,
Okay.
isn't it?
Well, I always thought that hooch was something like 90 proof or something like that. 80,
Well, that's
90
probably the
proof.
stuff they sell in the store versus the stuff you make on your own. Think about that.
Yeah, you're probably right. This is probably cut down. I'll bet there might actually be some apple juice in here, which would explain the cloudiness.
They did a
but
Gordon
still, 30% by volume. That's some serious alcoholage.
They did a Gordon Ramsay episode. I don't know where was he in the mountains, wherever they make the moonshine. He was visiting that state, and they took him through the whole process how to make it. Except you can't do this last step because that would be illegal. You have to be specially licensed to make moonshine. And
you know what? I think those laws absolutely need to be challenged. I'm getting sick and tired of all this licensure.
Okay, Bo Duke.
It's bullcrap. No, absolutely, absolutely.
I know.
Now I can get maybe I can understand some regulation on the selling of things, but making it for yourself, screw you, government. What I do in the privacy of my own home, you can anyway, sit and spin.
I think these were actual moonshine sellers, so I think they were worried, of course, being caught on video, having someone else do the full steps who's doesn't have the official license. I think that was what that was all about. They took him as far as they could, and they said, can't do this one last step, you know.
Tim says, so it was a Friday the 13th. I said something weird is going to happen today. I just feel it. I told my dad this is on my way home from work. When I got home,
there's more to the story.
Yeah, I was looking for it. When I opened the door, my mom said that my grandfather, my dad's father, had died. Oh, that's too bad.
That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Last game that scared me was Fear 2. I don't think I know that one. And it wasn't because the game itself. I managed to convince myself I was going to get jump scared. Yeah, see, sometimes you feel like there's going to be a jump scare. and I would argue that's where the real scare, the first time you watch, what was that one that nobody likes? The Blair Witch. You expect there to be a jump scare. You expect something to happen. It kind of never does. So all that build-up has you scared.
Like the Amityville Horror.
Yes. Yes. Like Netter at the 1 hour mark saying, have we gotten to the scary part yet? Honest, this scared the crap out of me when I was a kid.
I think your own imagination is playing around with your head when you're watching that movie, but I think we've talked
That's the Alfred Hitchcock effect, right? He always said you can't put anything on screen that's scarier than what the audience has in their own mind. So you just have to tickle that.
There were no Amityville Horror... Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm going to say, for example, put somebody in a completely empty room and then turn off the lights.
Oh, yeah.
Their imagination will go to work, and they will think that things are crawling towards them, things are crawling on them.
Yep.
They will swear that they hear something scritching in the dark and all that.
Disney had a ride
except for them.
where they did that, where the lights would go out and you'd feel stuff bumping around you and stuff.
Yep. Brandon the Anime Guy says, word up. Welcome, my friend. Good to see ya. Good to see you. Absolutely. There is no jump scare in the section I was in. Yeah. That's the problem. When you expect the jump scare, it never comes. And then when you least expect it, that's when they get you. The liquor in Resident Evil 2 made me jump out of my skin when it burst through the mirror. Never played those games, so I don't know.
They're scary. Yeah. I like the old school ones. I wish they would do a remaster of the really old ones.
Absolutely. Like Fear 2 Project Origin isn't even that scary. Okay, fair enough. And the Clue Channel, salute. Welcome, my friend. And I love the series. Oh, we talked about number series, so at this point, I'm not sure which one you were talking about, but there you go. The real horror is the price change for toys these days, a charge for toys these days, especially certain franchises. Yeah, especially when you look at what Hasbro and, all the collector's market toys are doing. Yeah, kids aren't buying toys anymore. It's all the old people. The other Psycho. Yeah, exactly. And I didn't say I didn't like the series. I just said I didn't have it. I did very much like the series. I did feel like they phoned it in the last season.
Yeah.
Once they were getting up to the first movie, they could have done so much with it.
They did it worse too, which is what I had the problem with. I did like how, especially in that first season, I'm realizing, this Bates Motel show, it's not even that it takes place, it's a remake, it takes place in a Hitchcock-style universe where there are all sorts of different kinds of shady Hitchcock-style people in the town. I
did like that. Yes. I did like that very much.
So, you'll see something like a character that you might have seen in an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. He shows up in an episode, like the creepy...
And, I just got to say, the casting of, what's her name? Formiga Agamemnon, whatever her name is.
Yes.
She, I would have had an Oedipus complex too. But then again, I have a type. So
Vera Farmiga, I think her name is. And I think the guy who played the sheriff, he was on Lost. He reminded me a bit of Anthony Perkins in somewhat of his appearance and the way he talked, which is why I think they cast him as the sheriff. Think about it.
Yeah.
He had a kind of a Perkins style. I mean, not exactly, but something about him reminded me of Anthony Perkins. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Okay, that's more than I knew. I knew it was legal in the state. And I knew that it was not legal in Las Vegas proper. I just didn't know, specifically county to county. A buddy of mine told me about these ranches that they have out in the desert. It's unincorporated territory, so anything goes, I guess. But looks like he could be considered harmless. Vince Vaughn looks like a serial killer. Yeah, you know what? You're kind of not wrong there. That is kind of true, Nate.
That's why I kind of want to see that. It's like that Freaky Friday movie, but it's about a teenage girl that switches body with a serial killer, and Vince Vaughn plays the serial killer in the movie. But then I
haven't. I
need to see that because I thought that was good casting because he can do the comedy and the horror if you think about it.
Yeah,
he can do both sides of that. Yeah.
Welcome, Disney Sheepherder. Good to see you, my friend. Channel member, you are.
Long time
awesome
no see.
People. And Real Wade Nation Gaming Clips. Good to see you, my friend. Tarantino is playwright first. That's true. And it comes through in his movies, and that's actually a good thing. Potentially. I mean, it can derail a film sometimes, too. I'm kind of going quick, so bear with me.
I know one you haven't said yet.
That is a powerful liquor, yes. The Potawatomi!
That's the one.
Thumbs for everyone. Thank you, my friend. Good to see you. Good to see you. My granddaddy used to make moonshine. He said he made 3 kinds. Howling at the moon in your underwear, and howling at the moon buck naked. I like the fact that you said buck naked, which is the correct way of saying it.
Yeah.
Because bucks are naked.
Buck as in naked as a buck. Secondary deprivation tanks are scary as sensory deprivation. Yes. There's gonna be an Altered States rewatch one of these days, definitely. I bought Alien Isolation for my October Scary game. I never played it, but I heard it's good. It does sound interesting.
There's a YouTuber by the name of Solid Rev who's he's kind of like a Southern good old boy that for some reason got into video games, even though he was more like a jock type, and he was playing Alien Isolation, and he was screaming at the TV. Because he's normally really good at these games, but this was like a stealth game where he had to hide, and he's like, "I hid," and he's yelling. It's funny. It's
okay. I could see this being scary. This sounds like a scene from a video game too. I remember a grocery store in the city I worked at in the 80s. I went into the compressor room, and the floor looked like it was moving. I turned on the lights. The floor was covered in water bugs.
That's
yikes.
That's gross.
The real horror is my mother-in-law. There you go, Tim. That's the cover I posted in general. Okay. Fear 2 is a shooter. The first-person shooters make it always a little bit less scary because you feel like you can defend yourself a little bit. It's something, I guess. Let's see. And... have you seen Hitchcock 2012, which deals with the making of Psycho? No, I have not.
I think it has Anthony Hopkins as Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah,
that makes sense. I can see that. I can see him doing that. It can only be legal in counties under 120,000 people, I think. So that rules out Vegas, Reno, and Carson City. Is that a state law? I thought it was legal across the state, and the individual counties could decide for themselves whether it was legal or not. Well, you know what? I'll check out your video about it. You said you did a video on it. I'll check it out. A manager I knew lost his job in Las Vegas at an annual meeting. He got arrested, calls his DM, the DM, "I'm the last person you want to call." Fired. Oh, man. Well, that could be a problem, because if it turns out he wasn't guilty of whatever he was arrested for, yeah, you got your company on a bad firing.
Oh, yeah.
And Pickle and Peanut Butter 2566, good evening. Welcome. I believe... He's coming over from Netter's channel.
Yep.
Welcome.
I get all the new people.
Yes, you do.
Because I'm special.
You are special. You got to be special to be married to me, right?
Well, I always get all the cool names on my channel, too. I mean, Pickle and Peanut Butter? Come on, that's cool.
On the Moonlight Bunny Ranch, that's the famous one out there, would never go to a place like that. You never know what you would get from that place. Very expensive drinks and I don't know, possibly very reasonably priced pie. Welcome, Cyberpunk Dystopia. Good to see you. Well, maybe because I'm drinking apple pie, that's what's on my mind, right? And it's called Conjugal Visit. This is not a sponsored stream. Don't know if it counts as a horror toy, but I had Castle Grayskull from the 80s, where the tower was a microphone with echo. Oh, that's very interesting. I did not know that aspect of it. I didn't collect He-Man, so I didn't know that.
Mexican Iron Man did, though. It was big on
Alien
that.
Isolation. It's scary, but it's damn hard. Yeah. That's why some of these games I actually like watching the playthroughs that people do on YouTube sometimes, because I just get frustrated if there's a part that I just can't get past.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see. I had a job when I was a teen. We cleaned up old businesses so that the buildings can be sold, and they were very filthy. One time we cleaned up a factory in Brandywine, Maryland. We went into the basement with a fire hose to clean it up, and we noticed the floor had gray carpet. But turned on the lights, the entire floor was covered with rats.
Oh,
This is like Night Shift.
God.
That's Stephen King's story. Oh.
I mean, that's as bad as our I guess it was our first apartment, where the people downstairs, because the family next door, the building next door, the people were absolute slobs, so they had roaches, and the roaches would then come over to our building. And so we told the landlord we needed an exterminator. He gave me a spray can. I called an expert. And the guy above us and us decided to split the cost of the exterminator. And we asked the people downstairs, hey, do you want to get in on this to keep bugs out of your apartment? They're like, oh, no, we're clean, we don't get bugs. Yeah, right. Well, because we had the exterminator coming into our apartments, any bugs that might have been in ours went all down to theirs. When they moved out, we were like, here's the opportunity for you to go in and spray, because a guy had come around. We got inside the apartment, and the walls were covered in roaches. It was black. I mean, he was shoveling these things out after killing them.
I always found the redundancy of the title He-Man was too on the nose. Am I wrong? By the way, welcome, Joshua Mowdy. I don't know. The only thing I thought about that was, why was She-Ra called She-Ra and not She-Woman? Just saying. Just, whatever.
So it's like a cheer. She-Ra!
She-Ra. Yeah, there you go.
Because you needed, like, the quick thing. Say it real quick.
It needed one syllable,
I
right?
guess. I don't know. I didn't watch
She-Girl could have done it.
I didn't watch those cartoons.
It just sounds too low.
Clue was saying it just as She-Gal is how he... Yeah, I can see that, too. And Pickle and Peanut Butter 256 says, I just clicked on YouTube Live. Well, yeah, that works.
I asked how they found my channel.
Oh,
well, on YouTube Live.
That's great insight. So we know how people tend to...
because I'm always interested to know how people found my channel. It's like, cool. Awesome.
Absolutely.
And I did just sub to you, Pickle and Peanut Butter, so I'd appreciate a sub back.
Absolutely. All the links to just about everybody that you see here is down below, whether it's the people in the panel here, the Blue Wrenches, all the channel members. So make sure you're subscribed to everybody. This is, I think it's a great community, and every time these guys keep coming back, and remember, I mean guys in the general sense. I'm not excluding the ladies. I'm just saying in general, right? You're all Osmo, and I think it's a great community. So I think it's something that's worth being a part of. So this is kind of like a good old days night tonight, isn't it?
Yes.
So tell us about the good old days. What are we talking about tonight, Uncle Boomer?
Creepy toys.
And there's a creepy doll that's always watching you.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about like Robert the Doll in Key West or Annabelle or things like that. I'm not talking just stuff that you and I played with.
That were meant to be scary. I
don't know about you, but I was a weird kid, so I like to get the weird toys. So I'm going to talk about the things I played with.
Me too. Well, look at Netter. Look at Netter. She literally has as her icon tonight a creepy doll.
Interesting. So we're going to do this. That's
here's
right.
Here's the thing, though. You boys got to have whatever kind of toys you wanted that were cool.
Yeah.
Girls, it was like, I know, you have to have Barbies, and you have to have little baby dolls, and you have to have girly toys.
To be fair, it wasn't
toys my brother had.
It wasn't just that she was a girl. She was also the youngest of five. Yeah, five.
Yeah. So that means a lot of my stuff was hand-me-downs, which I didn't really mind so
Even
much.
the Barbie doll she had was a hand-me-down.
Which I still have.
The arm held on with a pin.
Yeah. But it's like, I wanted toys like my brother. But I was a girl, so I couldn't have them.
One of the toys on your list, Troy, I had as a hand-me-down. I'll get into it when we get to it. All right.
Interesting. Last call with Troy Pacelli. Does creepy toys include when a locomotive creeps along the train? In your
No.
case, I would have to say yes.
Oh, I destroyed my locomotive train, the DeWitt Clinton. That was what the name of the train, and I sped it up too fast, and the engine burned out. I always meant to replace it, but never did, and I think it got messed up in the flood, so I just tossed it.
I had a Lionel train set.
This was what is it? HO
I don't know what
gauge?
happened to it. Mm-hmm. Yep.
HO gauge, I think I had the smaller ones. Yeah. All right, this is my first pick, but I'm going to alternate between you and myself. Okay.
Wait a minute. I do
Wait
have to
a
ask.
minute.
Well, because look, I'm sorry. Yes, you're on the panel, but the chat comes first
Okay.
because
All right. Hi, Orville
they're
Nation.
Hey, PJ. Pickle and Peanut Butter says, I'm 49. The raddest toy my rich friend had was the Millennium Falcon. Now, was that the original Kenner Millennium Falcon, or was that the slightly bigger Hasbro one? Just curious. I didn't have the original.
If you think about it, Star Wars is the scariest horror movie ever made. I mean, the Death Star, that can destroy like billions of people at once. That's like Michael Myers.
And then Disney takes over and they turn a whole planet into a Death Star. So.
I'm kidding because I'm just talking about scary toys.
Yes.
My first pick, Mad Balls. You know what a Mad Ball is?
I only know, well, my brother had one, I believe.
Okay.
And I know that Michael on Retro Blasting has talked about
all the kids wanted these. Yeah, Michael and I are probably closer. I mean, I don't know how close we are. Yeah. There you go. Here's a selection of Mad Balls. There's a Mummy Mad Ball. I'm in. I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah. I love them all. I forget how many of these I had. I think I had at least 5 or 6. I don't know. I love these things. The little skeleton there, when you turned it upside down, underneath it had the little neck thing where he would have to connect to the rest of the body. Come on. These are disgusting. These were rubber Nerf-style balls with creepy pictures on them. There's a close-up of one.
With the brain out,
With the brain sticking out. I believe that was a Mad Ball, unless it was one of the knockoff ones. I think it was a Mad Ball. And there's the baseball.
Pretty sure that's the one my brother had. Yeah.
Come on, think about it. That's kind of how you imagine the ball looks, as if it had a face, how it would look when it getting about to get hit, right?
Yeah, when it's a line drive, it's going, ah!
Come on, I love these things. You didn't have any yourself, I take it? No?
I did not, no. This wasn't the kind of thing I'd have gotten into.
You could throw it against the wall, you could play catch with it, and they were creepy looking. I liked them. I thought they were neat.
Yeah.
Were those the ones that stuck to the wall if you threw them at it?
I don't remember. I don't think so. I think they would bounce. I think they were just regular.
Yeah, those were they were basically like rubber balls. The problem with them is, yes, you could throw them against the wall, but because of the nose, the eyes, and stuff, they'd always bounce in a weird way.
And eventually the paint would crack off, but that was going to happen over time. These were neat, cheap little toys you could buy. I mean, they weren't super cheap, but they weren't. I can't imagine they were more than $5-10 each. Come on, it wasn't bad.
Joshua brings up an interesting point. 2 years after Cabbage Patch Kids as an alternative for boys. That was about the time we started getting into the Garbage Pail Kids and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
we talked about that at some point.
Yes, we did.
I don't remember when.
Oh, he did. He mentioned the Garbage Pail Kids. Yeah, we talked about it on. I think maybe it was a Good Old Days.
It was either a Good Old Days or one of these Friday streams. I don't remember now. But yeah, so that's Mad Balls. Come on, they were cool. I don't know why they don't reissue some of these old toys. I think the kids today might get a kick out of these, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, come on, why not? All right, now we're going to go on to one of your picks. Incredible Edibles Fright Factory.
The Fright Factory.
I can barely fit that in the line there.
Oh, there you go.
Look at that. You got the mad scientist. What's going on here? Holy
Now this was a later version of Incredible Edibles. I can't remember if this was the 70s or the 80s.
Don't know. I thought this was an old school box, but I didn't own the set.
And I didn't have it myself. A buddy of mine did. And the shtick on this was that we should back up for a second. The original Incredible Edibles, Netter knows more about than I do. That was in like 68, 69.
Yeah, my brother had both Incredible Edibles and the creepy colors. And yeah, it was nothing like this. You didn't make drinks or anything like that. What it was is you had these molds that were like spiders, scorpions, worms, gross looking bugs, roaches and all that. And you would pour the goop or whatever it was inside the mold, you know, like you would. And then you'd put in this special little, I guess it's kind of like an oven. You'd cook it for like a minute or so. And then when it finished, you'd have this pretty much a gummy thing that you can eat.
Yeah, it was a gelatin mixture that really thickened up when you heated it, and that's how you ended up with, you know, these. They were the precursors to things like gummy bears and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This one, however, this is the one I knew. And again, this was style over substance, right? Because if it was just a matter of making the candies, you know, they could have very much simplified it. But they went for, if you look at that, you have a plastic scalpel, you've got you know, cutting instruments,
it's like a mad
probes and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It looks like a mad scientist lab and stuff like that, right? That little green thing in the top there is a mold that you would inject into it, the greenish gummy stuff that you would heat up. That red thing is where you would mix together like a sweet mixture with baking soda that would foam up, and it makes like this foamy, almost like a meringue. But it was like a pinkish color, so they were saying, you know, it was you were eating brains. You know, it was.
I remember those commercials. I think yes.
Yep. And I remember when I saw the commercials, I never really paid attention to them, and I always thought it was like an icy kind of thing, until like my buddy David got it, and I was like, oh, it's more like a meringue kind of thing.
I wonder why I never got these kits as a kid. Maybe it was because I never got food-based toys, like where you could make food out of them.
There was always a problem. The shortcoming of this is if you use them.
Snow cone maker, but that was all we had. Yeah.
Well, see, Snoopy Snow Cone Maker was great because you used real ice.
Yes.
And guess what? Everybody had the recipe for that, right? Yes. And you could put whatever kind of flavor you wanted into it.
Yes.
You could use orange juice if you wanted to.
That's true.
So you never ran out of the ability to make snow cones. But these things, you had to have a parent that understood what it was that was being mixed up, so that you could eat. First, you either had to get the refill packages from the company,
which they never have in the store.
Which they never had in the store. It was always a limited lifespan of these toys.
That's probably why I didn't buy them. Yeah,
exactly. Or you would have to, like I said, have an adult who understood what it was and said, you don't need that. All you need is this, and this. Go on, keep making.
And you can make your own.
Yes.
Sometimes now, if you go... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, here's the difference between toys that, you know, you slightly younger than me folks had than I had. Remember, my brother had this toy that got really hot. And he had a little sticker on it that said, warning, gets hot.
Huh.
But he was like, you know, he's a little kid.
Yep.
And he's playing with this hot thing. And there was no concern that he was going to do something stupid. It's like...
Because the fact is, you do something stupid, you learn a lesson really quick.
I mean, the warning label said hot, caution hot. So even when I was around him, because I'm 10 years younger than my brother, he would say, this is hot, don't touch it. And it's like, okay. So even me, being 10 years younger, I knew not to touch the hot thing.
Careful.
Yeah. So the whole hot plate thing became a problem with this, with creepy crawlers, with the Easy Bake Oven even. You know?
Oh, that was a light bulb.
Because but then they changed it. Well, and now they have to change it because you can't get incandescent bulbs anymore because the environment. So now they have literally heated coils inside, and the problem with that is, well, if a kid sticks his hand in it, he can get caught and get badly burned. Well, maybe the kid needs to learn a lesson, because that little drooler You should know better than to stick his hand in. That's dumb. I was never that dumb at any age.
I remember when I was a kid, for some reason my dad was working on a lamp and had a severed cord. And I said, what would happen if I plugged this severed cord into an outlet?
Well, I had an uncle, a great
Sparks
uncle,
started
actually.
shooting out the other end. That's what happened.
I had a great uncle who said, he was working on a, he used to do all the electrical work at my mom's house because, you know, he knew what he was doing. And he was replacing a light switch. And I was watching him, and he goes, I'm doing something you should never do. You should always turn off the electricity before you start messing around with an outlet. But I know what I'm doing, so I'm going to be okay. I said, well, why is that important? He goes, oh, let me show you. And he puts 2 live wires together. And I'm like, ah!
Oh,
he's like,
funny.
see, you'll never do that, will ya?
Funny. Oh, that's a nice story.
Welcome, Jesse Green. Good to see you, my friend. And John Doe
Juggalo.
Thank you. I can never say it, especially after I'm well into my hooch here. I was watching one of your videos today, the one about your trek out to, was it Big Lots or
Yeah, I watched
something
that
like
one.
that with the videos that you picked up? Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, he showed one of the Orphan Black.
And I was like, oh, it's the whole, and I'm like, yeah.
And I'm like, I actually dropped a comment saying, how much is it? He goes, it's like $29.99 at Big Lots. Guess where we're going to go, sweetie?
I don't think I will. Well, Big Lots is a resale place, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
so
not
it's not like
Walmart.
the company even gets the money for that, because I don't want to support She-Hulk in any way, shape, or form anymore.
Oh, well, you like the series, though.
I did until she opened up her mouth about. Well, anyway, that's a whole different topic. Let's. Anything else to say about Incredible Edibles? And this was before edibles meant, like hash in your brownies.
And here's the other thing. You would expect that they would be kind of bland, but they actually tasted pretty decent.
Okay.
Yeah, they had flavor to them.
That's good.
Whereas,
Every time Lucifer, and welcome, by the way, Lucifer Lucero, every time Lucifer stops by, and he says this, I always think of that folk song, Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon, many will meet their doom, trumpets will sound, and all of the dead shall rise, righteous meet in the skies.
demonetized.
I don't think that song is copywritten, is it? Well, maybe.
Find out.
I don't know. It's
Might
YouTube.
be. Might be.
All right.
Good point.
I'm going to go on to my pick next. Shade big. Okay.
Big Lots is a reseller, so they the products that they have already been paid for. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Moving along. Rocks.
I will always focus on the chat as much as I can.
Rocks and bugs and things. Focus on me. Do you know what this is? No.
No, I don't, but
Let's
I
move
feel
on.
like I should. I feel like there's...
Look at this.
This does look familiar.
So rocks and bugs and things. You'd get this, a rock and or a bug, and they would come with a thing. And the thing was they would eat the things. They're like these little goblin type things you would put on them. And then the rock would turn into a monster. The goblin would go flying into its mouth. Yum, yum, yum.
Okay.
Alrighty then.
I
There
didn't
you go.
know
There's
that
a
one.
rock. You open it up, and there's the tongue flies out, and there are the hands, and then you just wrap.
Gosh,
the
that
thing.
almost looks like a play set of some kind, like the secret castle that Serpentor,
Okay.
occupied.
Yeah, how
or
big
something.
was it?
It looked like the size of a rock, like a larger size rock. Yeah.
Oh,
And-
okay.
Okay.
And you could, like, for instance, you could put an army man in front of it. It would eat the army man. You understand? That's how like the size scale.
See, that's
Right?
what I would do.
Yeah.
Man could fit in his mouth. There's one of the bugs you could get. They were and you squeeze the back and like pinchers would pop out of the mouth and grasp onto things.
Gosh, that looks
know.
so familiar to me.
They didn't sell well. I got them at KB thinking they were a new thing, not realizing they were probably on closeout at that point.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway,
KB sometimes did. KB's wasn't a reseller, but they kind of sometimes functioned that way.
I thought they were neat. I don't know how practical a toy they were, but I thought they were neat. But that's it for that. Anyone remember these? They look like mutated law moans. Yeah, they were kind of like law gnomes. That's not. They're. I don't know. It was the '80s. They were all into trolls and stuff, so I just assumed they were like trolls. I guess they didn't want to give out people with the things because parents might complain, but they gave out these little dummy things you could put with it.
KB Toys. Mark says long gone. They kind of went out with malls. We did a talk about malls one time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They haven't Walden books.
Let's go to the mall today.
Yes. Yep. All right, so this is
creepy crawlers, as we were saying. Yeah.
This is another.
So this is what we were talking about.
What the heck?
This one was a boys' version of the Easy Bake Oven. The difference being, these were not edible. That was the Incredible Edibles.
Yeah.
This was the same basic heating element, like oven. But what it was is, honestly, I don't know for certain, but I'm pretty sure all that was colored liquid latex.
Could have been.
Your brother had this,
my
too,
brother
right?
had it. He had both of them. He had the creepy crawlers and the Incredible Edibles. And I was really disappointed to find out I couldn't eat the creepy crawlers.
Yeah.
I was a kid.
Yeah, I dig it because they were very similar kind of toys. I could see the, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. You have a mold and you would pour the stuff in there. The problem with the molds, though, you would pour the stuff in, you would bake it, but then when you try to pull the stuff out, it didn't always release.
Yes.
So you'd end up leaving like the legs or the tentacles or whatever.
Which,
behind.
if they were smart, they would have had another
mold release
type thing. Spray
this
this
is
on.
like a precursor to 3D printing, though. In a way.
Kind of in a way. Yeah. And what you're showing here is very interesting. This did not come with the toy. This was one of the billets that was...
I'm broken.
Oh, was it good? You like it?
Yeah.
I actually, if I'm going to refill you, I'm going to actually try this because I was curious about it.
You didn't try it?
I did not.
My husband's giving me alcohol he hasn't tried. That's enough.
I got to have some too.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean you need to give me a full glass. I won't drink it all.
Oh, that is pretty good. Not that this one's not a very high alcohol count.
No.
So what this actually is one of the billets that was used to make the molds, the plastic molds that you would get in the toy. So what would happen is, and we're going to get a little more geeky than usual here. There was a vacuform process where they would heat up a piece of plastic, they would vacuform it over that bug on the left-hand side, and boom, there you got your mold, right? And that would go into the toy, and that plastic piece was what you put, there you go.
Hello, Jesse Green.
Welcome, Jesse Green. I thought I said hi to you earlier. Sorry.
You might have. Anyway, but yeah, so I don't know. You could if you had a large version of this, you could put your human victim in there and cover him with the goo and make a giant bug out of him and put on display.
Or you could start your own
House of Wax,
wax museum. Yeah. The other thing, the commercial for this that I remember from the 70s.
Yeah.
Was the kids making these things and then freaking out their parents by sticking them on mirrors, or when their dad was asleep, sticking them on his glasses and he'd wake up and there was bugs on his
That's
eyes
gross,
and whatnot.
Man. I think I remember that commercial. Or
yeah,
a version
and
of it.
and it's true. Latex, when it dries or whatever, is a little bit sticky, and you could do that with it. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Because they're creepy.
I honestly feel like, though, that this was the kind of thing you played with real well on Christmas Day, and maybe for a couple days after that, and then you lost interest.
I mean, like most toys back then. If we're being honest here.
I don't know. There were some toys that I would play with for years, and there were others that I look back on and go, I wish I had just gotten more Star Wars toys.
I remember I got Fireball Island. That was my big Christmas. It was a board game, right? And I think I played with it a few times over Christmas break. Never touched it again. Fireball Island.
Yeah.
It was neat because it had like a little bridge on the board which could get knocked over, like Temple of Doom, and you were trying to get the diamond from the cavern or whatever. This is my pick. My Pet Monster.
My Pet Monster.
You remember this
yes,
one?
I do. My brother had one.
Yeah. Look at that face, huh?
Yep.
A face only a mother could love, or maybe a boy into creepy things. But yeah, these were plushes. I guess this was a glorified plush toy for boys, but whatever. It's a monster, so I was okay with it.
But the important thing was the right there. The accessory, which was the manacles.
The manacles, you could break them apart too. Right?
Yes, you could wear them yourself. They fixed, I think, with
like
Velcro.
Superman,
Was it Velcro that you put on?
It was Velcro, and then it was plastic rings, but the rings were not fully attached, so you could break them apart.
And then you could put them back together again. Yeah. I love that. Again. That was probably the best part of the toy, actually.
I did not have this version. I thought I did, but then I recalled, no, I had this version, the one that had the teeth, the same. Like
interesting. I didn't know there was a variant.
There were different variants of these. I had him instead. I don't think I had the.
And today we have
traditional one.
Fugglers.
Oh gosh, Netter's got well, you know what? I got to go full screen to show it to you.
Space Fraggle. It's okay.
This is Netter's.
It's a Fuggler.
It's a Fuggler. It's a similar, concept.
Look at that. It looks soft.
Hard plastic. And, the teeth. The teeth are like real teeth. I mean, but he's so soft. He is really velvety soft.
And the eyes look real.
Look, growing up, I had the occasional plush toy. I mean, I wasn't into dolls or anything like that, but I did get that. We were at Epcot Center back when before they ruined Journey in the Imagination. I got a Figment plush to take home with me because I thought Figment was a really cool Disney character, which they've done nothing with.
When I was 10 years old, they got me a Raggedy Ann doll that was the same size as me. It was as tall as I was. It was basically a waifu.
Don't make jokes, man. I bet that's a fetish for some guys, right?
That was his first girlfriend.
You've ruined my childhood again, Boomer.
Apparently my sister had the Raggedy Ann and Andy alarm clock. Remember that one? The 70s?
I do. Did I have that, or did one of my friends have that? I can't remember.
It would say, I think it's time to get up and start your happy day. Say something like that, yeah.
That wouldn't have lasted in my house. I would have destroyed that, yeah. I mean, like, shut the fuck.
Well, it was bad when it would go off at 3 a.m, apparently, from what I heard.
Yeah, no, that would not fly with me. Well, it would fly and then smash.
But yeah, there we go. My Pet Monster. You know what? It's scary, but it's kind of cute too. I don't know. They were fine.
Yes, it is.
It's what you had. I was the right age for it, so there we go.
Yes.
We going forward? Oh, that's it for this. I have to go to the next slide now.
Okay, go to the next slide.
Creepy toys. Now we're going on to your next one. Migos
Mad Monsters. I should have prepared for this. So of course, let me take down my Svengoolies because that is not what we're talking about tonight.
Do you need all those down?
I got it. Don't worry.
Okay.
These are all my Svengoolies until I get to. Although my autograph of Svengoolie is probably going to fall when I take this down. Oh no, it's actually coming with it. Let me go full screen so I can show you guys. It says,
"Whoa,
to Troy and Netter, thanks for everything, Svengoolie, Rich Coase." We met him at a convention here in Chicago. We were actually working security. And when he says thanks for everything, what he was actually thanking us for is we had given him a gift. We had gotten some lobby cards from some of the classic monster films. And I gave them to him, and I'm like, look, we got them at an auction in Metropolis, Illinois. It was a Superman celebration, but they tended to do a lot of classic Hollywood stuff there, cool. too. And we got them for a pretty reasonable price, and Netter's like, this is something you want? And I'm like, I want to give them to Svengoolie when we see him. Cool. So we got them, and I brought them to him, and I'm like, look, man, I don't know if these are originals or if they're copies. I assume they're copies, but if they're not, whatever, thought you would appreciate them. So he, signed the autograph for us. It was actually pretty cool.
And he said he didn't have those ones,
he's
grateful for them.
Yeah. So these are not the originals. This is, of course, obviously, because Svengoolie is in there. But these are remakes of the Mad Monsters repackaged with Svengoolie. Right. So I've got Frankenstein, the Mummy, and Dracula. And these were very much in the Mego style in that their costumes are, like you could see, Dracula is just wearing a bodysuit that is printed to look like a tuxedo or whatever, but although he does have a cape on. Also printed mummy wrappings. And this one actually is pretty cool. There were different variations on this. Yes, with torn jacket and I should turn it so you can see it. Torn jacket and not torn jacket and so forth. Yes, you can still get these from, I believe it's from Figures Toy Company. They're the ones that are contracted by or that licenses with Me TV to make the Svengoolie figures. But in the Sears, and did you have a slide for this?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeek Flag, I know he's not Frankenstein. That was the name of the scientist.
Well, wait a minute.
It's Frankenstein.
My dad...
He's correct.
My dad's name was Collins, and for the first 18 years of my life, my name was Collins, too.
Anyway, let's move on.
Wouldn't you think that the creature would take the creator's name?
No, he hated
Think about that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Let's move on. There you go. That's the original packaging, right? That Frankenstein?
Yes. Well, actually, no, it's not.
Is that a repro?
It is a repro.
Darn it.
You'll notice in the lower left-hand corner, that's the Figures Toy Company symbol, but it is a very close likeness to the original style, yes. It came on the card, and it also came in a box that they called the Kearsarge style.
Okay. My brother had this. I got as a hand-me-down.
Okay.
I remember this guy. And I didn't realize he came with a cape, because that would have made more sense. Because I'm like, I kind of felt like this is kind of a sad Dracula. For starters, he was so much larger than my other action figures.
Yeah.
So, because he was that 1970s style action figure with the weird, like, head that you felt like you could pop off or whatever. I never knew quite what to do with him. I think he became a kind of a recurring joke. I was probably abusive to this toy. I'll be honest with you.
So another interesting variation on this, the head and the hands on one of the variants were glow in the dark.
Oh,
you can still get those from
he had the old
Figures
ones,
Toy
not
Company.
the glow in the dark. Because I had the glow in the dark Universal, like the shorter figures. I had those. And I was a big fan of those. Yep. They didn't make it into this stream, though. But I remember being a big fan.
I thought about them, too, and I figured I wouldn't bother. The other thing, too, is there was also a werewolf figure that was not in this package that I just showed you.
Right.
These were put out in the... Do you have any other pictures of these before I
got one more. There's the Haunted Castle.
Okay. So this is the Castle playset. Again, this was a Mego construct. The playsets for Mego were super cheap, but super cool.
Right.
Because all they really were was printed cardboard, laminated
with plastic,
and they held up good. They really did. So you could have these very lightweight, big play sets for fairly cheap.
Did they do a Star Trek set like that?
They did.
Yes.
That one was a bit more elaborate, bit more expensive.
Yeah.
I actually think I still have it. I'm looking to
Right.
resell it actually. But they did a Bat Cave in this style.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes, they did.
Like Adam West's Batcave?
Yes.
Yeah.
What was really cool was they did a Wayne Foundation multi-level. Remember the Kenner Death Star?
Yeah.
It was like that except for Mego scale, so it was much bigger.
Wow.
Yes.
I had that Death Star. Side note, I got a couple hand-me-down toys from my cousins once, and they were old Star Wars toys from the original movie, and one of them was the Death Star set for the figures.
Yeah.
That was a cool hand-me-down toy they gave me. I thought that was pretty cool. The Death
So-
Star set.
So those of us, in our age bracket, remember the Sears Wish Book,
Oh,
right?
gosh.
At Christmas time.
Yep.
And you can still there's YouTube channels that do retrospectives on them. You can find online reprints of the pages and stuff, and you would see all the toys that were out at Sears for that year. And they would oftentimes combine lines to demonstrate cross playability, right? So you might see the Star Wars figures 3 3/4 with the Buck Rogers figures 3 3/4, because let's face it, that's the way you played with them. You had them; they were in the same scale. They had ships. You played with them together, right?
Oh.
Well, they did the same thing with the superheroes, the world's greatest superheroes, right? Which at the time, Mego had the license for both DC and Marvel. So they had Spider-Man and they had Superman, they had Batman, they had Iron Man. Okay, right? And who were they going to fight? Well, of course, they fought the Joker and the Green Goblin, and all the ones in the greatest super villains line. But you could also put them up against the Mad Monsters. And so there were scenes of like Batman fighting with Dracula and stuff like that.
Or Superman fighting the Frankenstein monster.
Exactly. and because they knew, and sure enough, that was exactly how I played with them. I saw the monsters as being villains I could use against my world's greatest superheroes. Now, in addition to, at the same time, because they're also knockoffs, right? There was a and again, you could find this. I highly recommend a channel called Brick Mantooth, right? He talks about all of these, and I'll, you know what? I'm probably gonna end up doing clips of this later, like I do with the Geeky Geezers, and I will reference the channel so you can go check it out. He talks about a lot of these, I guess you call them bootleg companies, and there was one called Lincoln Monsters that did their own brand of monsters in the same style, and I had some of those too, and I didn't know the difference between Mego and Lincoln, and I'm sure there were other toys that were put out in that style. So yeah, the great little fond memory, and to this day, like I said, these figures are available again through Figures Toy Company, and I, for example, have gotten this really great 3D print of the diagnostic table to put the Frankenstein on, and definitely going to end up doing a
Cool stuff.
I'm going to do, because since then Mego has put out all of these Universal monsters and some of the more modern monsters like Freddy and Jeepers Creepers and all of them. So
Cool.
there'll definitely be some dioramas in the future for those as well.
All right. But they were cool. Back then, they made toys better materials and didn't worry about government regulations. That's true.
That's true.
All right.
Because children weren't wusses when we were kids.
Well, that's true.
All
We
right.
believed in the Darwin effect.
This might be my favorite childhood toy
I
that
don't
was
think I know
ever
this.
made. These were called Mad Scientist Kits.
Okay.
The idea behind these kits is I think you can even buy a mad scientist outfit to put on for you if you wanted to. I don't
I
think
would
I ever have
imagine.
the outfit, like with the poofy hair and all that, the white
Yeah.
hair.
Yeah.
The idea, there's your cartoon mad scientist there on the
Sure.
side. I think you could buy action figures for the mad scientist to
The
put with his
Monster
lab too
Lab.
if you wanted. The cool thing about this monster lab was you got these two skeletons of these monsters, right? And you would
Yep.
get this special flesh to put over them, right?
Sure.
Eyeballs on them, and you put like I guess other thing. I don't know if they had guts or something, and like you would put them all together, and then you would put them in this lab, and then you would pour this. You put them in water, and they'd be fine, and then you would pour like this disintegrating powder in there, and suddenly their flesh would melt off their bones like acid,
Nice.
and then you could reuse the putty again and just put it back in the container and then do it all over again. So
It's very interesting.
Like,
there was a Terminator figure playset like this.
Oh, really?
In the 3 3/4 inch style,
Yep.
and the T800,
Yep.
you would put into this thing, and then went into this form, and you would pour in this skin latex.
Yep.
Yeah, and of course the idea was that as you played with it, it got torn off, just like
Similar concept. Yeah, I think I
yeah.
remember those actually on commercials for those. I never got those myself, but these were rather neat.
Tim Hayes remembers it. He's mentioning that. Yeah,
lots of slime in these kits. I don't know if these are monsters you could buy on the side from these kits. You'd be just like this kid. See, looking at
slime was very popular in the
slime
70s.
was everywhere in the 80s too. Yeah. This was my favorite of the kits, though. This was the Alien Autopsy Kit. Here's what you would do. You would have this alien, right? And then you would have to, and it came with a whole assortment of plastic guts that you'd have to put in them. But you'd also have to pour slime over the guts and kind of get it all fitted, and then you would kind of zip it up, like with this plastic thing. You would put it kind of like a zipper on top, and then you would pry it open, and you would dissect it and pull all the guts out, and they'd be all slimy and stuff.
Wow.
Well, this must have been the kit that came with the weird little alien things, too. That's right. They must have come with this kit.
That's
really
awesome.
Cool. This was a very slime-orientated kit. The other kit, it had the disintegrating flesh. It also had the stuff you could put over them that was like a weird gel that you could actually put your monsters in the freezer and it would freeze, and you would have like frozen monsters. It was interesting.
Oh, that's funny.
It was so neat, cool. Like a cold pack sort of thing. But it was a neat little kit.
Welcome, Joe's Atmosphere.
Look out, horror toys. Yeah, basically that's the theme tonight. We're doing toys now. We're gonna get to games soon enough. But I enjoyed these kits. Great fun. I do miss them. Like I don't know if they put them on the market today, I might pick one up just to have a nostalgic. Obviously, you can't really buy them used now anyway because they came with the powder and the stuff in the kits. It's not going to work anymore. Some guy online was able to get the frozen gel. He found a recipe online to remake that. So he could use the.
That's what I'm talking about. You kind of had to reverse engineer what is this and why does it work, and then you can put together your own, stuff.
But super cool. I believe PTA or parents groups got angry at these kits. I think Mattel put these out. So but they were a lot of fun.
This is, it's the whole Karen thing, right? It's not enough that you just don't buy it for your kid. You've got to go out and make sure that nobody else can get it.
Yes.
And I just remember my mom being like, you know what? She hated people like that. She's like, there's
killjoys.
Yeah, she'd be like, is that something you want? I'll get it for you. Because damn it, screw those bastards,
Color Forms Castle Dracula Funhouse.
We did talk about this once before. I think it was for a
Color Forms on the good old days, but we'll
Color Forms on the good old days. I loved this.
What is this?
I had a lot of Color Forms play sets.
It's a Monster Mash.
This was the largest. I think it was the largest Color Forms set that existed, and I loved it.
Look at all you get with this.
Yeah, so here's okay, so you got to picture it being like a box, like a game board box, right?
Yeah.
And it had layers to it. So that mostly black layer was the background behind the doors, right? Mm-hmm. That in the upper right-hand corner went over that, and each one of those, the sarcophagus, the secret book drawer there. The doors on the 2 doors on the top,
that.
the lower door, the trap door in the floor, and the sarcophagus on the lower right, all opened up to show what was behind them. And the way color forms worked was you had these plastic. They weren't stickers. What they were was like appliques. They were, vinyl pieces.
You could use them
printed.
over and over again. Yeah.
Yes, and they would stick to the surface of these, or you could stick them behind the door or whatever. So when you opened the door, there was Dracula or there was Frankenstein or whatever.
Yeah, I think I mentioned I had a Flash Gordon one. Of
Yeah.
this set. Yeah, but this was.
And I had a Batman one. I had a Spider-Man one.
Right.
But this was my favorite, the Castle Dracula Funhouse. I loved this.
Who doesn't love the monsters as a kid? Come on, you got everything. I think Creature from the Black Lagoon, I think, was on there too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's in the corner there.
And literally, and what you see right there,
in the bathtub or something.
He is in the bathtub. So that's where you would put him in the
Yeah.
house, was in the bathtub. Yeah, exactly. And they had the
Phantom of
figure
the Opera?
in two. Yep, the Phantom of the Opera, the
Opera's there, look at
werewolf,
that.
the mummy.
Yeah.
And everything that you see in that picture there, the candelabra, the mop and bucket and everything, those were other appliques that you could use. What was really clever was that they had, like, for example, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, the torso and the lower part were 2 separate pieces. So you could put the torso into the tub, as if you couldn't see his lower part because he's in the tub, or you could have him standing next to the tub because you'd put the legs or whatever. Yeah.
That's right.
The arms might have been separate so that you could have them in different positions and stuff like that. Yeah,
That's cool. Cool little set. It looks like I would have picked this up in a heartbeat when I was a kid, but they were made. I don't think this was available in the '80s because I would have gotten this. But,
yeah, this was late '70s.
yeah. Because I had a Universal Monsters period as my childhood where I was obsessed.
Oh
with it.
yeah.
I was angry with those little Universal Monsters figures because they had no play sets, and I in the worst way. And I don't know why I wanted this set, but I wanted a Phantom of the Opera like sewer organ lair.
Wow, cool. Yeah.
That would have been cool. Like with the organ and and the monsters. I wanted that for the monsters to hang out in. I wanted like a
Sure.
a replica organ and stuff. But oh well. Next up on my list is Boglins. You know what these are?
I was dimly aware of them. My brother had one of these.
Yes.
But I know them a little bit better because of a video that Michael French over at Retro Blasting did.
put out.
He has one Boglin in his collection, and he's talked about them before.
I wanted these in the worst way when I saw that commercial. And I found out later on, I was watching, I don't know if it was Michael's or another channel's doing a little documentary on these, and I found out that it was actually a man that I think worked for the Jim Henson Company that came up with the
Makes
idea.
sense.
The idea was he wanted the masses to know what it was like to play around with a Jim Henson style puppet, like something you might have seen in the movie Labyrinth.
Makes sense. Yeah.
That's sort of where these came from. And you could actually put your hand in them, move the eyes, move the mouth around. I think even maybe do something with the hands. They had a lot of articulation for a toy you bought in the store. They came in these cool little crates with like iron doors on them that you could lift up. Like these were a menace to society. You wanted to keep them locked up when you weren't using them. But look at that. I don't remember which one I had. I did have one of these as a kid. I thought these were super cool. I want to say I had a Boglin. I don't know what happened to it though. I guess it got sold at a garage sale.
This was a Mattel toy. Interesting.
Mattel made some good stuff. I mean, they did the Mad Scientist kits.
This was an example of where the box was actually kind of... You'd keep the box to keep them in.
It came with little straw inside the box. Like
yeah.
The little details are what makes it. I think these were a little pricier, but they weren't horrible. But I remember I wanted one real bad, and I don't know how I got one. I think I saved up my allowance for it.
This is another one that they did a re-release on recently.
I heard they did. There was like a campaign online. I thought about it. I thought about picking it up. I'm gonna mute myself.
I've done that with a lot of things. I look at it and I'm like, I always wanted that. Do I still want it? Where the hell would I put it? Nah, never mind.
There we go.
Or sometimes it's Netter. Can I get this?
I don't think you've ever said no to me for anything.
Netter.
That's why we have a 6-foot Millennium
Yeah.
Falcon in the garage.
Exactly.
They
Millennium
have a
Falcon
copy of
extraordinaire.
Mega Man X2 on eBay for $600. Can I just pick that up, please?
There are times where she'll be like, can this wait until we get paid? You know, or something like that, you know?
I'm kidding.
Or it's like, have you looked other places to find it less?
Yeah, exactly.
Look, I may have it in 3 different collections or 4 different collections, but there's something about owning the actual cartridge.
I get it.
I'm sorry, never mind. That's a whole nother can of worms. But,
See, I'm a repro kind of guy. I don't mind repros. I don't mind reconstructions or whatever. I don't need it to be the original.
Depends on who's doing the repro. If it's an official repro, I'll get it. But I get worried about repros of cartridges, especially if they're from weird parts of the world, because I'm worried that maybe
I get what you're
there'll be a
saying,
circuitry thing that'll mess with my hardware. And
True.
I'll say this, I will give this, if you're into retro gaming and if you have modern consoles, they have done a lot of great collections in recent years that are not shoddy. They actually have good. They did like I said, they did Castlevania collections. They've done Contra collections. They've done Mega Man collections. You could still get this stuff on modern systems. So, but but now we're going to end our toy line because I figured you weren't sure if this was a toy or a game, so I included it at the end of the toy line. Yeah.
I will probably be doing a standalone video at some point in the future about these. The WizKids horror clicks.
I've heard of the Hero Clicks because I have friends who have the Wolverine and Spider-Man in those, but this was a
Hero Clicks is still going. Horror Clicks didn't last. Part of the reason for that was because even though they were made by the same company as Hero Clicks, they weren't exactly compatible with. And I understand why. There was a different theme to these, but it would have been so easy to make them a sub portion of the Hero Clicks. And I think that it would still be going on today if they had the Hero Clicks community able to cross over. It didn't. It became its own niche. But Netter and I saw this at a game convention. I believe it was Gen Con in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
They had a table there where they were demonstrating it, and you could go and you could play. Okay, don't get too far ahead. Okay, so that is one of the skeleton figures from the base set, the very first box, the one that we bought when we first saw them. They had them available there, right? Everyone, and it was a box of I want to say 4 or 5 figures.
So zombies,
that was,
right?
Yeah, that was one of them, and they were unique figures. However, because Netter and I played a demo game, we received a little bag with that figure, and Netter got a different one or whatever. Come to find out, they were a slight variation that you could only get by participating at the convention demonstration. And so when I was going through my mad, collecting phase, it wasn't enough for me to just have the box set. I had to get the variations from the people.
You had to get them all.
So we already had 2, and we had to get the other ones. So we'd go to eBay for them. But go to the next one. This was a unique figure. You see that that was I want to say that was the Victorian vampire.
Look at that.
So it was kind of based on the concept of Jack the Ripper, but it was a vampire. And there were 3 different. There was a yellow, red, and blue ring.
It wouldn't make this figure today.
Probably not. Probably not. Yeah, absolutely. And then there was unique figures that only came with a gold ring, and those were like one per box, and they were very, very difficult to get. What else you got?
I got one more. Just one more.
Okay.
Just one more. I did.
Yes.
Freddy
So
Krueger
this one comes. Yes. So this one comes from. There was a box set that was the Freddy. I want to say it was Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah, Freddy versus Jason. So they Jason Voorhees there.
So it was. So what was cool, and this was another shortcoming, I think. The main line of the toys all had either public domain monsters, generic zombies, skeletons, vampires, that kind of thing, or things that were very clearly hinting at a licensed character, but not the actual character. So, for example, there was a unique figure, gold band on the bottom, called Angelique. And she was, dressed all in leather, and she had chains and with claws on the ends of the chains and stuff like that. She was very clearly a Cenobite. And Angelique was even the name of one of the Cenobites in Hellraiser Bloodlines. But they didn't license Hellraiser, so you didn't, But they did license Freddy versus Jason. So it was a box set where you could literally play the HorrorClix game Freddy versus Jason. There was different Freddy, different Jason. There was different victim cards that you could have from those lines. They had different terrain. Was there
Shelley from Friday the 13th Part 3? Was he one of the victim cards?
She would have been a little Pog-like that they were trying to collect.
If Shelley was part of that, would have been worth purchasing if I could get Shelley and kill Shelley. I hate Shelley. Everyone hates Shelley. Okay.
The terrain was like, I can't remember what it was for Jason, but for Freddy there was the boiler, stand and whatnot.
Oh, that's neat.
And at one of the conventions they had a setup that one of these days I will reconstruct Camp Crystal Lake as terrain to play your game on. The other one that was really impressive, and I will probably someday end up doing a video about this, and this was from they showed it with the original, at the original convention where they introduced it, the first big premium figure. It stood, I want to say, about 2.5 feet tall. The Great Cthulhu.
Oh,
and
wow!
The wingspan was about 3
Holy cow!
feet.
They made him. That's neat.
And the base was like this big around. So click, 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 click. And they had this whole Lovecraftian temple, not that you could buy, but that was for display at the convention. And I've gotten really good pictures of that, and I probably am going to end up making that one of these days too. But
that sounds cool.
Yes, and so we got a couple of those. Those were mail-ins, and we got like 2 or 3 of them, so that I would have one. And if it ever became, it was speculation, if they ever became valuable, my thought was, if the HorrorClix line got real popular, and I figured there would always be someone who was interested in it because Cthulhu, right?
Yeah.
We just haven't looked to see what the value is on those, so I don't know.
Cool.
But
all right.
Yeah, HorrorClix.
I heard of these. I'm not sure why I didn't pick these up. I guess I don't know why. Did they? These are really only like licensed type ones. I guess they didn't have Ash from Evil Dead.
So no, they did not. But what they did. So here were the licensed ones. They had Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
They had Alien versus Predator. And they also had additional Alien and Predator figures that were one-offs outside of that collection. They had Hellboy.
Oh, that's neat.
Yes.
He could go
and
with
Hellboy was compatible with HeroClix as well.
He could go either way.
Because you would get a card that described his abilities, and if you flipped it over, one side was HorrorClix, the other side was HeroClix.
I'm thinking like some of the superheroes could be that, like Blade from Marvel could be either way, I think, too, right?
There was a line,
vampire.
and I don't think I've gotten them all.
He's a vampire hunter, so you go either
There
way.
was a line in Hero Clicks that was compatible with Horror Clicks, just like Hellboy. It was the Marvel Zombies.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yup.
You know what, they could have done a set with Blade and some of his villains that could be compatible with either, like Deacon Frost.
There was a lot of things they could have done, but they didn't license them, and it just...
But
it
Marvel,
ended up
they had the
dying.
rights to Marvel, so they could have used stuff from Marvel Comics, right?
They should have done a lot more of that, and they didn't.
It
That's
sounds what
sad.
they had was pretty cool, though. I mean, I'm not... Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, you don't have to always have licensed stuff. I mean, most of the toys I was talking about earlier is not based on specific licenses.
There
I mean,
was...
yeah.
They did a Dracula unique figure.
Yeah.
And what was interesting was, just like I described the Hero Clicks, Horror Clicks card, where his powers were different depending on which game system you were playing, this one was a two-sided card, and on the one side it had statistics for Vlad Tepes, the historic
I saw that click where he's like impaling some guy, some barbarian.
Yep,
guy
and
or
the
something.
other side
yeah,
is the vampire Dracula.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that. I almost used that one in the presentation, but I was trying to stick to no more than 3 picks.
That's fair. That's fair.
But now we're done with toys. Say lovey, and now we move on to games.
Yep.
This is a combination of either computer, video / board games. So
Yep.
we're going to start out with the board games and move on. Nightmare. I wonder why I started with this one.
So this was not just a board game. This was a VHS board game. And the way it worked was, and this is going to be a recurring theme. You aren't playing against the guy sitting across from you. You are
against this dude.
Yes, you
Holy
are playing
cow.
against the VHS. You have 1 hour to win the game, and you are working collectively.
I remember.
And you have
I
this,
thought he reminded me of the Emperor from Star Wars. That's what he reminded me of when I was watching.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, he's like cloaked figure, glowing. You know, it's like he's gonna kill me. I don't like him.
So the VC and actually the footage from the VHS is available. You can find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
It plays an introduction that gives you the backstory and everything,
Right.
and what it is you're doing, and I think it kind of tells you kind of how to play the game, and then it goes and it just plays like some ambiance and music, and it's got a timer. And you're playing and you're trying to make progress and whatnot. And every so often, this guy comes back and says, "Halt! Whoever's turn it is, you must go back 3 spaces." Or whatever, you know, stuff like that.
He looks like a warlock. Is that what he was supposed to be, or something?
I don't even remember, a demon, something
Satan?
like that. He was creepy as all hell.
Did this
Let me
game
just
get
tell
blamed
you.
for like Satanism and stuff like
I
that?
don't
Was this like
remember. I
satanic
don't
panic
remember.
stuff? I don't know. This
Probably.
is like the kind of games. It was like a thing I was saying, like, "Mom, can I get that?" No. But he's like some kind of warlock. It looks like. Yeah.
But I'll tell you, the as the game would go, you know, at the beginning you'd have wide spaces before he'd show up. But as you were getting closer to the end, he'd be showing up more and more and more. And you'd be like, "Damn, I'm trying." But, you know, he's interrupting you. And he's trying to keep you from winning. So it got real tense at the end. And it was always very startling when he'd jump in. And he'd go, "Whose ever turn it is."
Wait a minute. Is there a
Hmm?
Joe's Atmosphere in the chat? Is people are saying, because Atmosphere was the name of this game in England. Did you know that? It had a different title. It's called Atmosphere.
I did not know that. There you go. There you go.
I don't know if that's a coincidence or not, but yeah. Okay.
So that was one of those the VHS games. There was a couple of them. There was a Dungeons and Dragons one that we talked about on
Dragon Strike.
Users
Was
one
that
time.
the one?
I think it was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I had that one.
Yep.
There was also what do you call it? There was a Star Trek one, wasn't there?
Yes, I have that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. It's kind of neat. I guess these kind of faded away with the advent of video games, but I kind of wish that they would.
Which is really a shame because, you know, basically the upside to it is, you know, your VHS may not work anymore. You may not have a VCR anymore, but all of these have been uploaded to YouTube somewhere, and you could still use them to play the game if you want to.
Yeah. But there's the board. Looks kind of creepy, huh? So it was a scary game, though. Every time he'd come on screen, it was a little bit of a jump scare. It was kind of fun. It really was. Halt! Like you would scream at the people.
Yes.
Imagine if you had a Boss stereo hooked up to your TV and that happened, huh?
And he would say something, like really derogatory or whatever. He was an asshole. Yeah, he really was.
He looks like the villain, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Was he called like the Game Master or Dream Master or something like that?
I don't remember anymore. Yeah. I don't remember.
All right. I remember the kid in the version was like, like he was obeying him like on the commercial. I remember the commercial for this.
This was the epitome of a party game. It was a lot of fun. Shrieks
and Creaks.
Okay, I don't know.
I think I'd mentioned this when we did this years ago on my brief good old days. This was an audio tape game. So instead of a VHS tape, you had an audio tape you'd listen to. This is more for kids. But there's a Sir Simon Shriek. He's the host of Mystery Manor. That's the name of the place. See that cat on the cover? Look at that. And you get these little tokens, and these would be your character keys, and then you would have corresponding pieces. Look at those people, huh?
Yeah,
they're a little freaked out, don't they? Anyway, so if you would find like things on the board, you would then place them inside a talking tombstone that you would have hooked up to a tape player. So you'd hook this. It was like basically a little speaker you'd hook up to a tape player. But by inserting this key with another piece, you could listen to what's going on with the tape. And when you pulled them out, the tape would keep playing. Do you understand?
Yes.
And it was rather neat. Like there'd be one segment when like you hear this guy crunching, going, oh no, and Sir Simon Shriek says, "Oh, Boris has dug up a little snack. Go back to the dining room." You understand? And they're creepy. They have these creepy sound effects and music playing. The funniest one though was a gorilla's escape from the I forget where the what do they call those, terrarium, whatever he had in the place. Go back to the attic or something, and like you would hear some guy in the background is doing the Tarzan yell. When that's happening.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
It was for kids and it was creepy, but it was in good humor, and I enjoyed it.
It sounds like they had a good Foley artist for this doing
it was really neat. This tape is available on YouTube. It's available some places as an MP3 you can download. So if you can ever find this game, if you have you can hook your phone up to it, or maybe an old MP3 player and play it that way too. But sometimes I wish these games would get preserved like in a video game format where they would just be on your TV and you could take turns.
Yeah.
But whatever. But it was a neat little creepy game. It was probably my favorite board game I ever owned out of all the board games I owned. Yeah,
that is cool.
Yeah, so moving on.
Yeah, I didn't know this one existed. That's cool.
It was neat. It was like, I want to say, maybe 87, 88 is when it came out. Yeah, that's probably when it was.
Okay, yeah. So I was in high school at the time. I was probably a little too old.
I think I was like 9 or 10 when I got it, yeah. World of Darkness, this is yours, correct? Now we're getting into kind of RPGs, is that right?
Yeah, so this would be a role-playing game. This is second edition is when I kind of got into this.
Vampire the Masquerade.
Vampire the Masquerade was the one that most people wanted to play.
This was the edgy RPG, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. Not to mention there was the whole Theater of the Mind thing where you had a bunch of people LARPing as vampires, and it was like
right.
Yeah,
people show up in vampire costumes,
and especially here in the Chicago area, there was whole communities based around this. And
because there was a lot of cool lore with this series, right?
Yes, there was. Yeah. In fact, I have one of the source books, World of Darkness, Chicago. Obviously, living in Chicago.
That's awesome.
And there's these really interesting fictional factions and stuff in Chicago based out of very real places. It very much blended, reality and fiction. Werewolf the Apocalypse, which is the werewolf version of Vampire the Masquerade. These are all compatible.
They're in the same
be played
universe.
Separately. Yeah, they can be played separately, but they're compatible.
Like if they're a group of people they just want to be werewolves, they can just play the werewolf game.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay. But I kind of think that the Underworld movies sort of aped on these a bit. Is that right? Maybe unofficially, with how
I think so. So the idea with Vampire the Masquerade for vampires was this idea that there were so many different kinds of vampires that you had seen in movies that whether it was the Nosferatu. By the way, if you're interested in Nosferatu, get over to Midnight's Edge. They have started a new channel where they just released their own reconstructed 4K edition of Nosferatu with a new soundtrack and some corrected scenes.
Yeah. They
very
correct,
good.
Correct sepia tones. That's what they said they were doing. Yeah.
So the idea is that the vampire Orlok in Nosferatu, Dracula, whatever other kinds of vampires, Camilla, all these other different vampires that you can think of that are somewhat different or have something unique about them, they were all from different clans. And so clans in Vampire the Masquerade would be like classes in Dungeons and Dragons, right? Or races, I suppose. You could choose which one you wanted to be, whether you wanted to be a Bruja or Nosferatu or whatever. There was a number of them. Ventru. And each one had, pluses and minuses. Obviously, Nosferatu, you had a very low charisma. You were ugly. Your appearance gave away that you were a vampire, so you almost could never be seen.
Didn't it make up for in other areas though?
Yeah, they had some. If I remember correctly, and I'm stretching my memory here, I think they had some sort of ability that could cause plague and things like that.
That's interesting.
That the other vampires did not have.
So you cause a plague and then just go walk into town and no one can stop you. Right?
It wasn't quite that expansive, but yeah, something like that. But Shattered Nation. Oh, that was an adventure for the werewolf. Yeah. They also had
they probably had witches, right? I'm sure witches was a thing too.
Witches and wizards, and I can't remember what that one was called. Okay. There was one called The Created, which was like your Frankenstein creations. They had one for the world of fairy, and we're talking fairies like Del Toro, Pan's Labyrinth type fairies.
Those types of fairies, the ones you don't want to mess with.
Yeah, the classic fairy, that would come and take your child and leave a changeling in its place, stuff like that.
Like brownies and the red caps.
Exactly, like the real actual folklore and all that kind of stuff. And there was also the base set called World of Darkness, which was just, it was a little bit like Call of Cthulhu-ish. Okay. You played normal people living in a world that had vampires and werewolves and ghosts.
And the expansions would be you could play as the monsters. That's clever. That's how clever way to sell it.
Exactly. But, and I've got most from that second edition. I think I have all of the hardcover expansion books.
So were there like werewolf hunters and vampire hunters as characters you could play as? And
yes. You had to decide, obviously, if you want to play one or the other. Yeah. And the thing was, if you were playing vampires and you had a group of, different vampires from different clans, you might be working together against the hunters, but you were also kind of Game of Thrones style working against each other.
Yes, as it were, because I can have the hunters take out this enemy of mine.
Oh, and the reason they call it the Masquerade. That's very important. The whole idea behind it was that back in the Middle Ages, you remember nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition, right?
Yes.
Spanish Inquisition the church had figured out that vampires were real. So they were going around killing them all. And vampires realized, holy crap, we've got to go to ground, kind of literally, or we'll be wiped out. So from that point on, they started a shadow organization with the primary rule that vampires had to keep to the masquerade. You had to pretend to be a real person.
Yes.
You had to hide your nature. You had to... Vampires were fiction. They're not real. And movies were a smokescreen and all of that kind of stuff, right?
Interesting.
And if you were ever found by other vampires to be betraying the masquerade and telling a mortal that vampires are real, they would start a blood hunt against you, and they'd wipe you out and anybody who'd found out. And if you've ever seen, there was a series that lasted for one season called The Kindred.
Kindred the Embraced, right? Yeah.
The Embraced, exactly.
Yes,
and it was based on this exact concept where one girl, who's a reporter, finds out that vampires are real, but, she's jockeying to stay alive, and she gets involved in all the machinations of the different vampires. The problem was that the main vampire, the Ventrue leader of the group, I'm forgetting his name, the actor died between seasons in a motorcycle accident, and it kind of pretty much put an end to the show. But
they should bring it back.
Yeah.
That might be kind of neat.
I'll probably end up doing a rewatch of it sometime. I don't know if I'll do the whole series or just the
maybe
pilot
after Blake 7.
Maybe after Blake 7. Yeah, exactly.
There was a computer game based off of this game too. Which
Never played it. I heard about it.
I heard was very good. In fact, it's a legendarily good game. I think you can still get it on Steam. But it was made around the early 2000s, and it's a favorite. It never came out on consoles. People were upset it never got a console version, but it was a very.
Is it an
good
MMO
game.
Type of thing, or was it a standard?
No, it's like a standard I don't want to say
Gotcha.
It's not like a Grand Theft Auto, sort of like a RPG where you could go around places. And apparently in this universe too, you realize it's not just the monsters you have to worry about. There's screwed up humans in this universe too, like some guy that was, I guess, taking body parts and collecting, I don't know, like weird stuff. Okay, yeah.
I don't know if he's already gone, but good night, Curtis. Have a great one. It was about 4 minutes ago.
But,
Tired midnight blogger needs to get some rest.
Look at that. Joss Atmosphere says, my buddy and I made a role-playing game version of The Fog, map of the town with all the descendants who were in danger, everything. I'm surprised they haven't done more board games based off horror movies. I know there was a legendary Dawn of the Dead board game that got released in the late 70s, but I never got a chance to try that one out. Oh, skip myself. Blackmorn Manor. Do you know this one?
I do not. I don't think so, anyway.
I did not own this game myself. My brother had it. It is a tile-based board game that was based on the Chill universe. Remember the Chill role-playing game system?
Yes, I do.
So Chill, for those of you who don't know, that was sort of like a basic horror RPG. This was predates Vampire the Masquerade, where it was more like classic monsters. Eventually, they even went into some B-horror monsters. Like I think they had a module about zombies and
cool,
and Texas Chainsaw type hillbillies. I think they did later on, but originally it was just like vampires and werewolves and things like that. And this was a tile board game based on that. There's an old ad for it. Come inside.
I'm sorry, I didn't say hi to Outlaw Bill. Welcome, my friend. Good to see you.
And I don't know if I can see what it says there. Hold on. Sorry. Let me see if I can make it big.
I'll bring out the beast in you.
Yes. But I don't think you played as monsters. You would play as, human characters.
People trying to survive the manor.
Yeah. Blackmorn Manor. But what's interesting is it's what I call a tile-based board game. And tile-based board games, you get tiles, like so many tiles per turn.
Yes.
And you build the mansion as you go along. And sometimes you can build mansion. I think you can put pieces down to foil other players. And you can, you get monster cards used against other players as your character.
I get the idea of those tile games. Yeah. You're trying to make a path for yourself, but you're trying to stymie other people. Yeah.
It's the original box cover for it. See, this one unfortunately has been out of print for a long time. There is a spiritual sequel to it, a game called Betrayal at the House of the Hill. I think you can still get that game. But Chill Blackmorn Manor, they're the tiles. I wish I could show you what the actual tile board game would look like, because it was neat. It's like each tile was a different room, or maybe it's an outside foyer of the house, and you would basically build the mansion as you played. Really neat horror board game, And
Yeah.
it's a pity it's out of print, but like I said, there is a spiritual success.
I would bet you that there is probably PDFs online that you could find and remake it yourself.
But you want to get the good quality hard stocks.
Yeah.
Copies of those boards. But neat, very neat board game. But I do recommend it, especially for fans of the chill role playing game. This was sort of like the chill role playing game what Dungeon was to D&D. Remember the Dungeon board game?
Sure, exactly. I was thinking that. Yeah, I dig it.
And speaking of board games based on, I think, bigger RPGs, we have
Arkham Horror,
which I think
this was another one that Netter and I played at Gen Con. And we were like, we got to get this game. Yes. This is another one of those where you're not really playing against the other people at the table. Unlike the VCR game, you may have a time limit depending on the adventure you're playing, but it is you're playing against the game itself. So you are trying to prevent, usually, depending on the game, you're trying to prevent a gate from opening up that would let in some
icky bad
from the Cthulhu realm,
like
or whatever,
Hotep or something, or Yog-Sothoth,
and as you're moving around and choosing cards and rolling dice and stuff, there's a random chance that something happens, you get an item or whatever. Maybe it drives you insane, maybe it takes you out of play, whatever.
I might have played this once because I think my brother had this one too. Yeah.
You're all trying to work together to survive and save the world, so to speak.
Are these the different character cards?
Yeah, that would be a great example.
Joe Diamond, I'm thinking he's either mobster or
that's entirely appropriate and possible for
hard-boiled detective.
Either way, and both would be equally, and you would see them working together because look, it's like you could be a cop, you could be a robber, you could be a businessman, you could be a bum, but you've all had an encounter with these
unmentionable horrors, things like that. Yeah,
and it's like you've put all of our differences aside. We need to friggin' survive.
Okay, Mandy Thompson, Runaway, or a Femme Fatale, perhaps. Monterey Jack, probably a drifter. That's what I'm thinking.
I was going to say probably used to be in the military, and now he's probably a homeless
maybe he's
guy.
Maybe he's a drifter, just wandering around, like Jack Reacher, baby. I don't know.
Sure.
And who's Harvey Walters? He's either a professor or a butler. I don't know.
Almost certainly a professor. He's probably a professor at Miskatonic University.
Of course.
I don't know. I don't know if they went into this much detail, but there you go.
But, and there's the board, I guess, of Arkham, right?
Yep, exactly.
But this one always looked cool, too, and I think that this was to the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game, what those others were, right? Or maybe this is its own animal, I don't know, but yeah.
No, it's inspired by that role-playing game, but it's a board game variation of that, absolutely.
They had a lot of neat horror-themed board games. I think my brother had one based on Dracula. Another was based on the Mummy's Tomb. I think that was another one where you could play different. Cool. And it's funny. I think one guy wanted the. I think it was like they were looking for some kind of elixir or thing that would give people more mortality. And one of the guys you could play as was like a reverend or something, a minister who wanted to destroy the object because only God can give eternal life. So it's like this is a blasphemous thing. That was his goal for going in there, which I thought was funny. This looks cool though. But anything else to say about this? Cool game? Nope. All right, I liked it.
A lot of fun. A little on the pricey side. This is more for, adult players,
Yeah. Adults who have that kind of spending money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now we're getting into video games and computers.
Okay.
So we're off that, but I'm going to end with Ghouls and Ghosts. Do you know what Ghouls and Ghosts is?
I do not. Do you know what not off the top of my head.
Ghosts and Goblins, ever hear of that game? Ghosts and Goblins?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, never mind then. All right, this was a Capcom arcade game, the original Ghosts and Goblins. They're not sure if it was that or the original Super Mario Brothers that invented the whole idea of side-scrolling where the character could go. Instead of going through separate screens, the screen would scroll with the character.
Gotcha.
But this is the sequel. This was out on the Sega Genesis. This is one of the first Sega Genesis games I played. I think someone made a joke that these games are what the movie Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow was based off of, where your character keeps dying over and over again in inexplicable ways. But you play a knight named Arthur, trying to save your princess, who was basically her soul, and everyone else that game's soul was stolen by this big thing that looks like Lucifer or Satan, the devil, basically, right? And you're fighting all sorts of horrible monsters as you go from level to level. And then you get to the final boss, and then I think Merlin appears, or maybe Princess Prim, who I basically said that's Guinevere. I know that's supposed to be Guinevere.
Sure.
And she says, nope, you have to go back to the beginning of the stage, find the special weapon, and go through all the levels all over again.
Oh my gosh.
And then you fight the devil at the end. That looks like the old pitchfork, the old medieval drawings of what the devil looked like. But this is a wonderful Capcom side-scrolling game. If you got the gold armor, you got special magic you could use. So if you were using the lance, you could bring lightning bolts out from the sky if you powered up. This is another level in this game. You're fighting knights and stuff. This was a very kind of creepy game. Hard game, but I didn't feel the Genesis version was unforgiving. Plus, there was also an invincibility code you could unlock, and you would still die when you use the invincibility code because you would also there was also drops. It would shield you from enemies, but not from drops. I want to say, you know what this reminds me of? If they had made Dragon's Lair into like a side-scrolling action game,
interesting.
It would have been like this. Because I don't have a picture of this, unfortunately, but when you lose your armor, you're in your underwear. Running around.
That's funny.
And if you get hit by the magician, like you either get power-ups by hitting these chests, or the magician appears. The magician casts a spell on you. You can turn into an old man briefly, where you're walking around with a cane.
Oh my gosh!
In another version of this game, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, you turn into a little baby when the magician hits you. But this was a lot of fun. Ghouls and Ghosts was a big deal arcade game, but it was ported to the Sega Genesis by I believe by the guy that created Sonic the Hedgehog. He did the Genesis port of this game, Yuji Naka. But really cool, creepy Halloween vibe game. If any of you out there bought the Sega Genesis Mini that came out a few years ago, this was included with that.
Nice.
They recently, the guy that made these games, they did a new version called Ultimate Ghouls and Ghosts for modern consoles.
Mm-hmm.
It is... it slaps you around.
That's too bad.
It's a game that puts you in a corner and it slaps you around and makes you.
I hate that. That's not
the
fun.
Kind of game it is. No, I don't care.
That's not fun.
That's what people are going to say. This is the point of this game is this is a memorization game. This is you figure out which enemies pop out where, how to avoid them, and you got to remember it for next time and keep remembering it. Some people hate these games. I like this one though because I feel this is the most accessible out of all of them. It's not horribly difficult. I got pretty far. I think I got to like the 4th level without having to use any codes on my own. So it's not impossible, but some of the others are really bad.
Lester San Jose Skeptic Tank, welcome, my friend.
Yes. I don't know if anybody here has played Ghouls and Ghosts by Capcom, the Street Fighter 2 and Mega Man people. That's who made this game. But
there you go.
Cool, ghoulish atmosphere. And I swear, I think you're playing as King Arthur. It's some weird loose King Arthur.
Basically. Yeah.
All right. But moving right along, we're going to... Oh, wait, now I got to go to the next set of slides. So I will remove this and do the next one.
Boy, you do a lot of work. I super appreciate this, man.
Well, like I said, next week will be a lighter week, but we'll be doing... We'll have a fun night regardless. We're going to do... We'll talk about that at the end of the show.
Me and Troy are slackers. We only had a little bit.
Oh, no. This is Troy's pick for a video game. Haunted House. Now, I have to put a picture up here of Count Floyd.
Floyd, yes!
Are you ready for some really scary kids?
Stuff.
This is
really
very
scary.
Stuff, man. I have to ask you, because this is where our age difference gets in the way. Love the cover. Look at that cover. Look at that.
So,
Haunted House.
So this game, and many of the games on the Atari 2600 lived and died by the cover art.
Oh, yeah.
This is cool looking stuff.
Look at that.
Very, very exciting.
I see.
There's a bat, there's a spider, the eyes, the scared eyes.
Look at that. Look at that. I don't want to be here.
But let's. Do you have any pictures of the gameplay?
Oh!
There's the eyes. That's what the eyes look like. Okay.
Holy cow!
Now, what was interesting about this was that the horror, the scary, the stuff
What is
it?
It
really was not in the graphics. It wasn't.
So what?
What it was especially in the sound effects. The sound effects were actually really good. You had the creepy sounds of the creatures. You had this wind sound that would come every time the bat would come in. If one of those creatures touched you, you died. You had 9 lives. That 8 in the... He's already died once. He's about to die again. So that 8's about to become a 7. That number 2 tells you you're on level 2. There were 4 levels in this haunted mansion. They all looked identical, but there were doors. He's just come through a door. And...
And wasn't there one level that was totally in the dark?
Yes, if you played it there was 3 different difficulty levels, and on the second difficulty level, you had to light a match, and you could only see an area, right around, I don't know, about like 5 pixels on either side of the eyes. You needed to have that light on in order to find the objects that would help you get through this place. You were looking for 3, I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 pieces of an urn. You had to get the urn, bring it to the entrance. But here's the thing.
That's pretty
you could only carry,
actually. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the game Adventure, you could only carry 1 item at a time. So
make a choice.
You had to make a choice. So one strategy was right there. That object that's in your inventory there is the scepter. If you're holding the scepter, you are impervious to the monsters. So you could go and scope everything out holding that scepter.
Right.
But don't pick up something else, right? But you'd also, if you did pick up something else, you'd have to remember where that scepter was to come back if you needed it and wanted to use it. Or you just had to run away from the monsters.
Oh my goodness.
And sometimes, okay, so you're in the room on the right there. Those are your eyeballs. There could be a monster in that left room, and you wouldn't know it until you open the door that you can't see in between the rooms.
My goodness.
So you could open the door, and it would be there. Ba-da! And the sound effects would just scare the crap out of you.
This is the first survival horror video game.
That is what a lot of people call it.
Predates Resident Evil. This is basically what Resident Evil did later on. But yeah, oh my goodness.
It was actually a very fun game for what it was. And if you read the instruction book, there was a lot of lore in there that got you into the story.
Use your imagination.
It exactly did, yeah. All the things they couldn't do with graphics, and they did with backstory and your imagination.
Creepy
it was
sound
actually
effects.
not that bad, yeah. The creepy sound effects were actually pretty good considering what they had to work with.
They released an Atari Anniversary Collection years ago. I think they're doing an updated version of it this year. And apparently one of the remastered games you could unlock was a remastered version of this game done with newer style graphics, but I believe still keeping the aesthetics of the weird eyes poking around, and that's,
I like that.
Yeah. So
see, those eyes, you see them looking right at you, and that's the rest position if you just put your joystick down. But if you were moving to the left, they'd be looking to the left. If you were moving up, and yeah. And then when you got hit by the monster, they'd like spin around.
Oh, that's funny.
Pew, 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 pew.
Haunted House is the name of it. You can find it in many different Atari collections, and I have that Atari collection. This one will be in there, and I don't know if you have to unlock the fancy version or if it's already there. But
when it says 9 video games, it's kind of a misleading thing. There was 3 different difficulty levels.
Yes.
1, 2, and 3 that you would select in the game menu. And each one of those 3, you could go A or B on the difficulty on the console. Right. And I don't remember what those did. So 3 times 3, that's 9.
So later on they would do something like 9 terrifying levels rather than do the 9 games, because the kids were wise to that at that point, probably.
I think so. I think you're right.
But yeah, Haunted House, no. I mean, think about it. Everything he mentioned there, I'm sorry. It's kind of it was kind of expanded upon with games like Resident Evil.
Absolutely.
Resident Evil, you have limited inventory. You only have so many bullets for your gun. You got to figure out when you want to kill things, when you want to leave things in a bin before you can find the special item to unlock a door somewhere or something. So,
that's another item, the key.
The key,
on the harder levels, you needed to find a key to open the doors. And you had to manage that because you could only carry one item. So if you got the key, you'd unlock the door. If you found a piece to the item you were trying to get, well, you couldn't go back through the door now.
Yeah.
So you had to find another way to get there. Mapping was invaluable. Not that you could literally map out the whole mansion before you started because it was 3 rooms, and 3 rooms.
I bet kids
You had
did that in
6
graph
rooms.
paper, right?
Yeah. But you would have to draw in, this door is locked. This one is unlocked, and you draw all this stuff in. If you left something in a room, you'd say, this is where the piece of the urn is or whatever. Okay. Otherwise, you were lost, Yeah.
So that's Haunted House, everybody. Classic. You can find it on most Atari compilations.
Yep.
All right. Splatterhouse. Have you heard of this one?
I don't think so.
This was made by Namco, the company that made Pac-Man.
Sure.
This was a very little seen arcade game. I remember it was out for a game console. My first game console that was wholly mine. The NES was a shared console in my house. When I wanted my own 16-bit console, I wanted the TurboGrafx 16. For this game here, Splatterhouse, look at that cover.
I remember Turbo 16 graphics. Yeah.
You got this guy looks like Jason Voorhees with the 2x4 and the guy with the chainsaw. I'm like, what is this? And I think
did you play creatures like this fighting each other?
You play Rick, I think, who has the death mask on him. In the Japanese version, it's white, like the hockey mask. They had to change it to red because they were worried about getting sued by Friday the 13th.
Of course.
The horrifying theme of this game may be inappropriate for young children and cowards. You like that?
I like that. I like that.
I'm like, how old was I when I got this? I think 13. I'm like, I want this game in the worst way.
Yeah.
Look at those levels. You would take a 2x4.
Those graphics aren't bad at all.
They're good. I mean, this was 16-bit-esque. This, and you would use the 2x4 and you'd hit those guys and they'd fly against the wall and they'd splatter. Hence the name Splatterhouse.
Nice.
And that
makes
bosses.
sense. Yeah.
Much like how Castlevania series of games, those early ones were kind of going off the old Universal Gothic horror movies.
Yeah.
This was going off of modern horror movies like, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, things like that. Sure. That was its inspiration.
This one looks like there's a skeleton in the back stretching like he just woke up.
He stretched. They puked on the floor, and then the floor. You have to wait for the puke to disappear because it's hazardous. You have to jump over it.
Oh my gosh!
It's disgusting. It's wonderful. This boss right here.
Yeah,
got the sack over his head like Jason Voorhees in Friday 13th Part 2. Chainsaws for hands. The bad guy in this game is known as a Dr. West, who's been doing experiments at the West Mansion. Your girlfriend, you and your girlfriend ran into this mansion from the storm, and she got kidnapped, and you're trying to find her. And the only way to get through this thing is by getting this horrible cursed. I think later on they said it was like an old Mesoamerican, like Mayan mask or something that gives you powers, but the mask is kind of evil itself.
Yeah.
It just has its own ulterior motive that's different from all the horrible monsters you're fighting in this game.
Of course.
There's a wonderful scene where there are these zombie dogs after you, but if you punch one of the ghouls, it will instead not attack you and start feasting on the remnants of the ghouls. If you punch a ghoul and it falls to pieces on the ground, it just eats the guts instead.
Ew.
Real. This is a grody game. Did get a sequel, Splatterhouse 2.
Uh-huh.
That was made available on the Sega Genesis. I was none too happy about that. That's like the competitor. I think it was around that point I said I have to get a Super Nintendo. But big fan of Splatterhouse. Still have the Hue card for this game. And you can actually get this if you got the TurboGrafx 16 many years ago. It was available on the mini console they released for it. And if you have a Nintendo Switch, the Namco Museum they released for that, which has like Pac-Man and like Galaga games like that. And they actually put the arcade version of this on there with it, and the arcade version is harder. I remember we were at Universal Studios, and they had a Namco arcade in Universal Studios, right, the theme park, and they had a Splatterhouse arcade game. And at that point, I knew the TurboGrafx 16 version like the back of my hand. I found every alternate path to go on every level.
Sure.
I beat it every which way but loose, and I was like, I want to beat the arcade game. And it's the usual thing when you're on a trip, and they're like, you can play one game. You know, we're not here to play games. We're here to, you know, enjoy the park. You know, that usual thing. This always happens to kids on vacation when they go to an arcade.
Yeah.
You know, so, but great classic game. Like I said, if you have a Switch, you can get it in the Namco Museum. It's also available. Well, if you had the Turbo Mini, you can get it on that. If you have the Sega Genesis Mini 2, Splatterhouse 2 is available on that as well.
And apparently there's a Splatterhouse 3 with full 3D game.
It was made for PlayStation 3 years back. It actually had the guy that did the voice of Darkwing Duck voice the mask in it. And this was before our current woke era, when you got to find little pieces of your girlfriend in Playboy spreads, like official Playboy spreads, you know.
Jeez.
Like one of those things, like, oh, you know, they did a photo shoot of these sorority girls, you know. So,
yes.
And they would never do that now, but you know, such is the age we're living in. Speaking of games,
here's another game I don't think they would ever do now. Yeah.
Now, Phantasmagoria. I do have a picture from the first one. This was sort of like the next level of games like King's Quest and Leisure Suit Larry and things like that.
This was when they started to incorporate actual, you know, actors, you know, digitized filmed footage of actors acting out scenes. This one was not as good. You had less direct control over the characters. It was, in a way, it felt very much like Dragon's Lair or Space Ace. You know, you'd watch the piece and then you'd... Huh?
She's easy on the eyes, though.
Oh, yeah. This would be almost certainly a rated R movie if it was turned into a movie.
Yeah, it wasn't just for gory stuff. There was some intimate stuff in there too.
There was some boobage. There was some boobage.
Man,
briefly, it's what we would call brief nudity these days, but it was still there. Yeah.
I have to admit, though, I was always kind of fascinated by this game. I never had a PC powerful enough to run it, though, because I saw previews of it, because I used to get the gaming magazines that would cover PC and console, and I would always see this game being previewed. I'm like, wow.
Night Trap, really I think, actually came before this. Night Trap, which starred Dana Plato.
Yes.
From Different Strokes.
I ended up getting that on the Switch as well. They did a remastered version of that.
Did they?
Yes. And it's like they made the old VHS videotape look as good as it can be. It's so cheesy. It's not even funny.
Neat.
I got that and some other game with Corey Haim and Debbie
Corey
Harry
Feldman?
was in it.
Oh, Debbie Harry. Okay, cool.
Some of these games would get known actors. There's one called Ripper, which had Christopher Walken in it.
Really?
Paul Giamatti and all these people, yeah. But this is Phantasmagoria Puzzle of Flesh. Wow, that's 5 discs worth of stuff there. Look at that.
Keep in mind those were CD-ROMs,
before
which
DVD
didn't hold.
So you would switch out the disc at a certain point in the game, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
I remember seeing this in stores too. These games look super cool.
Phantasmagoria 2. Do you have a shot of the game footage from this one?
I think so, yeah. Well, there's. I don't know what.
Holy crap! But this was. There you go. Yeah. This is more what you saw generally, and this was more directly interactive, and the filmed scenes were cut scenes, and this was actually pretty darn good graphics for the day.
And you had the actual person around.
Yes. It wasn't perfect because you had to move them around in 3 dimensions. You'd have to move him back and forward, and sometimes it was hard to tell where he was in relationship to objects. And when they call it Puzzle of Flesh, they really mean it. Like this was a puzzle game. It was a horror puzzle game. And
Puzzle of Flesh, I think Hellraiser. That's what it's reminding me of.
It was very, without the specific puzzle box, without the specific Hell Priest character, it was basically Hellraiser. And real quick, I don't think I said hi. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't say hi to Daniel Donnelly. Welcome. Good to see you. But, yeah. So, God, what year did this come out? This was
I want to say it was late
something?
90s, maybe.
Yeah. So, this was a game I played.
Find out.
Technically, I was an adult. I was in my 20s when I played this game. But I was just fascinated by it. I loved it was like being immersed in a horror film,
1996, yeah. I mean, that's impressive for 96.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, it is.
They had a lot of cutting edge stuff back then. I really wish they would go back. I know they remastered the Blade Runner game. I want Night Dive. Take a look at some of these old adventure games like this, like the original Phantasmagoria and like Ripper. If they could bring these out again and like clean them up and just keep the aesthetics. I think these would be cool little remasters. I think these should be preserved. Yeah,
absolutely.
But I think
that's from a cutscene. That is not actual gameplay.
I know
that's
the one actress from this game because she was in movies on Cinemax late at night. If you know what I mean.
Yes, I do. yes, I absolutely do.
I know someone was doing a review of this game, and apparently was he having like an affair with two women in the office at once or something, or one of the women in the office kept coming on to him, and it's like, I keep thinking that probably did happen in the 90s before we were so uptight about this.
Oh, almost certainly, yeah. This one...
He's like a computer guy, right? Is that
there's an interesting plot, and it's got a big twist ending. Yeah.
I'd love to play this again sometime. Maybe it is available on Good Old Games or something. I'm hoping.
And walkthroughs of it are available
online.
On
yeah, you can watch people playing it, and that's fun to watch sometimes too. But I seriously think that there's a lot of these PC games in this era really need to be preserved.
Yes.
And I know Night Dive's doing good stuff, and maybe they'll eventually take this on. It looks super cool. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Haunting Ground. Interesting.
I think this might be the last thing. I'm not sure. Yeah. Haunting Ground. This is a little-known survival horror game. This was made by Capcom, the people behind the Resident Evil games. This was originally intended to be an entry in the Clock Tower series, which were based on these Italian horror movies like Phenomena and Suspiria. The Japanese title for this game is actually Demento. That has a very Italian-sounding name to it. It was called Haunting Ground in North America. This is apparently one of the
I like this cover.
It's one of the 10 most expensive PlayStation 2 games right now. I lucked out in picking this up when it was out, because I got a PlayStation late in the life cycle, and I was like, because I was never a Sony guy, but a friend won one. He already had a PlayStation, gave it to me as a Christmas present. So I'm like, you know what? There are a bunch of games I couldn't get on the GameCube that were on the PlayStation, and this was one that interested me. And holy cow, this is without a doubt the scariest game I have ever played. I've not beaten it. Part of the problem is that you can't really play a PlayStation on a modern TV either, because I keep meaning to go back and try and beating this. There's a dog in here. Game starts out. You're this young woman. I think. What the heck? Fiona, I think her name is Fiona.
Okay.
And she wakes up, and she's in a cage, and all that's covering her is like a silk sheet, right?
Nice.
And the last thing she remembered was getting into a car accident with her parents, and I guess it happened outside of this foreboding castle, right?
Uh-huh.
And there's this weird guy that looks like what was it? The guy the guy from the Goonies, you know?
Oh yeah.
The deformed dude. He's in it. He's cutting up I'm hoping is meat on a butcher's board. He leaves.
Well, I'm sure it's meat. It's just what kind of meat it is that, you know.
So you're walking around with this sheet on you through this castle. You eventually make it into like this bedroom area, and you see a note, and it said, "Put these on." So you put on like this, like German lederhosen, like with German barmaid style outfit, right? And
yes,
it even has that little necklace, the thing on it.
Yeah.
And as you're putting the outfit on, you see her wearing it, and then suddenly you're seeing it from the vantage point of some guy looking through people of an old painting on the wall and making grunting noises. And I'm like, I'm uncomfortable already with this.
Yes.
This is, and you play as her. she has like fear gauges. Like if because you're basically being stalked by like the big deformed dude. Later on, it's a creepy maid woman. I think eventually you learn that some of the things in this castle are actually golems made by this alchemist.
Okay.
It's super creepy. There's like puzzles you have to solve. You do get a weapon of sorts. You get a dog.
Okay.
Yeah, you're being chased around by that guy. There's the dog. You can actually train the dog, but when a dog does something you want, you say good boy. When it does something you don't like, you say bad Dickie. I don't know if the dog's name is Dickie or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And this guy's chasing around. You can't really beat these guys. You can sick the dog on them, and it'll go and you run off. But eventually, he's going to throw the dog off and come after you again. You can hide places. The scariest, and you hear this music as it's getting closer. Doo, doo. It's like this really like drawn out like
that's pretty cool
stalker music.
I can see where that would be scary. Yeah.
And if you're hiding, if you're and like I'll hide under a bed in a room, and sometimes that would work, and you'd see his feet, and you're looking at his feet under the bed, right?
Oh,
and
God.
then sometimes so he gets wise and he pokes, found you, and like he said, and like I'm like, oh no, and you got to get out of there, and as he attacks you or gets closer, eventually your fear gauge goes up and up until you start getting paralyzed and can't move as well. Until you just can't move anymore, and then he comes toward you, and the screen goes white, and you go and like you hear this crunching sound as it goes white. And I don't know if he thinks you're like his new plaything, like a doll or something. And he's only one of the things in this game. I think after you beat him, there's other horrible things coming after you in this game. It is creepy. This is the
I can see this being
uncomfortable game. I do not know why this game, as John Doe Juggalo, he says, I wish this game would get a remaster. Capcom, please remaster this game. Give it a full HD remaster, like you did with Resident Evil 4. Not the latest Resident Evil 4. Just keep the aesthetics. And what I think they should do is, and don't censor it, because apparently there's some women online that call this a feminist masterpiece. And maybe they're laying stuff onto it that's not there, but I don't care. It looks like it's PC approved, so just leave it alone. Okay?
Yeah.
Don't censor it. Release it as is. Apparently women, young girls who, like, I think this one woman did a whole video about how she played this as she was just after puberty, and it kind of messed with her head, because I think that's around the character's age. I don't know if the villain in this game wants to own her or clone her or do something with her. It's this whole... It got under a lot of... Women who play this game said it really got under their skin, too. And I'm thinking, well, it got under my skin. I guess women who played this game, they really did like it.
Real quick, I want to say hi.
Okay.
Say hi to BC Herbs, who said, I would love to see a remake of Parasite Eve. Do you know that one?
Yeah, that is a Square Enix game. I do own a digital copy of it because they used to sell PlayStation games on the PlayStation Store to play on your PlayStation 3. But that's another one they should do a collection of and maybe clean them up. Apparently that was based on a Japanese novel series in Japan, but that was like Square Enix's own sort of take on survival horror.
Sure.
But that's it for me. I ended with Haunting Ground because this one is very unsettling. You can find videos of this online. I think this one got largely overlooked. It came out the same year as Resident Evil 4, the other big Capcom survival horror game, and everybody was bought in Resident Evil 4. And originally this was supposed to be the big PlayStation survival horror game, but then Capcom decided to port Resident Evil 4 over from the GameCube. So I think people largely ignored this game, and it's just become a very rare title now. But I think that, seriously, Capcom, you need to look at this game and do a remaster. I don't think it would take much to clean it up, because I think the graphics already look really good for the time they were made. Look at her. I mean, that's a graphic from the game. I mean, I don't know if that's from a cutscene or from the actual game, but that looks pretty good. And she's English, too, if you're wondering what her nationality was. And I originally thought she should have been American, but I realized in a lot of these Italian horror movies, the main characters are typically American, but they can sometimes be English, so it still works,
Sure.
So there we go. So the strange person, the strange thing,
That is, I hadn't heard about that. That's very, very interesting.
It is a freaky game.
So we have basically taken you from incredible edibles and creepy crawlers up through horror video games that even adults, get freaked out
I
about.
think Haunting Ground was 2004, so that's as far as we got.
Do you remember that one game we played? It was a you were inside a mansion and you were trying to escape, and the owner was in there trying to kill you, and it was like all these different puzzles you had to figure out.
Seventh Guest?
Yes!
Yes!
Yes.
Seventh Guest, and the sequel was The 11th Hour.
Yes.
Those were creepy fun.
I always wanted to play those. Nintendo teased those with us that they were going to come out with a CD add-on for the Super Nintendo, and how they were teasing it was, when it comes out, we're working with whatever company makes the Seventh Guest game, and I'm like, oh cool, we're going to get Seventh Guest on this Nintendo. Never happened. We never got a Nintendo CD.
I wanted. What I ended up doing was I back when Netta and I were dating, just before we got married, I was running a Ravenloft campaign, Dungeons and Dragons, with my D&D group. Actually, basically the same group that I'm still with to this day. And I did a version. I did my own version of the Seventh Guest in the role-playing game. It was pretty cool, actually.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And the soundtrack from that was really good.
What's amazing is I gave very few details I remembered, and Boomer knew exactly which one it was.
Yeah.
No, because I was thinking, when I was doing this, I was thinking, was Phantasmagoria the first full motion? I think the first adventure game that incorporated full motion, I think, was Seventh Guest. I think that predated Phantasmagoria.
Was really good,
I remember that was being hyped up too. These were all games I wanted to play, but we never had a PC powerful enough. See, that's what a lot of you PC master race people, as you often say. A lot of us when we even had a house or when you had a PC, you're a kid and you're a teenager. You don't have the money to buy a fancy PC, and if your dad isn't into games, he's going to get a PC, but it's going to be for utilitarian purposes only. And you're not going to be able to run the fancy games. Thank you so much,
Brett. Brett says
you're thankful you have the game consoles.
Now I've had to hunt to find you to give you all a like. My job is done. Thank you so much. That is very encouraging. Super appreciate you.
Haunting Ground, play it any way you can.
That's because I said his cat was totes adorbs.
Yeah. I also, let me think. We could have talked about, but there's a lot of people that have talked about it recently. We could have talked about Five Nights at Freddy's. We could have talked about Silent Hill. Actually, Silent Hill's one I'd actually like to play. There's a whole bunch of really cool horror games right now that you can play. But we were going for stuff from our younger days, so to speak. But anyway,
what you talking about? I'm still young.
Lester says, I was in the same boat, Boomer. My mother thought games would break the computer. Yeah, you would have your, I didn't buy this machine for playing games. It's like, okay, well, then I want a machine for playing games. So the game console was a cheaper alternative. And to be fair, you would get games on the game console you wouldn't get on the PC back in the day, and vice versa. There was like unique libraries on both. So
right.
Right. Like you were getting to play games like Seventh.
I don't think there was ever a doubt. Well, at least after I got married, there was never a doubt that the computer was primarily for games.
Yes.
And you would also use it for word processing and spreadsheets and stuff like that. But by and large, it was for games.
And there were some amazing PC games back in the day. That might be a topic for another stream. Yeah.
Absolutely. But that was a lot of fun. I'm glad we did that. And I think I'll end up clipping this live stream because
go right ahead. Yeah, there's some good stuff, especially Halloween week.
As well.
Haunting Ground. I'll send you the intro video. I'll send you the intro video for that game just before the game starts. It messes you up.
Okay. And then you know what I'm going to end up having to do is then I'm going to have to go and find a playthrough on YouTube or something because
it's creepy, man. I should find a playthrough of Phantasmagoria Puzzle of Flesh though. I should do that. Yeah.
You should.
But
Troy, what we could do sometime is actually get one of these games and do a playthrough like live.
I'll have to think about it.
There's a lot of YouTubers that do games live like that.
I'm seriously considering doing that with Goat Simulator.
Yeah, it's like, but if we're doing one like Seventh Guest or something, and Boomer, you're up for it. That would be cool for 3 of us to go, wait, go here, look in this thing, and,
You can do that sometime, yeah.
Spreadsheet, not speed sheet, but you've got fitted sheets. Netter's got a video for how to fold.
Yes,
fitted
I do.
sheets.
By the way, I
It's
didn't
one
mention
of my more popular ones.
I didn't mention this on the stream here too, but remember that 8-bit adventure anthology I got you, the old point and click
Yes.
game for the NES?
Yes.
One of them is a haunted house game. It's called Uninvited.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
we're
There's
doing the detective one. Yeah.
I now have, just because of you, I've got such a huge library of games.
I didn't have got you that much stuff, but I'm currently playing
well,
the Blair Witch
these
game.
games aren't, quick plays either. So I mean,
Oh, the Blair
Oh,
Witch
that
game.
Goat
That's
Simulator is
interesting.
so fun.
Yes. The Blair Witch game.
Very, very challenging. Very challenging game. And my understanding is that chances are I probably have to restart the game because I had a spoiler from a video that I was watching. Apparently something you do early in the game, if you make a certain choice, and it's a pretty obvious choice, because you start out these games picking up and examining everything because you're trying to figure out what the hell's going on here. If you pick up a certain item and examine it, you can't win the game.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that it's very obviously there to be picked up. So it's like, well, that sucks, If you told 12-year-old me in the days of pumping quarters into arcade machines that one day I would have the ability to play every game on the planet with emulators, I'd say you were lying. Well, so we didn't get into this particularly today. We've talked about it in other streams. But Boomer kind of picks on me. We call him Boomer, but really I'm significantly older than he is.
Not that
my
not
first,
by much, but yeah.
my first. Well, but at a crucial time where my
Exactly.
first console was the Atari 2600, and I got the Atari 2600 specifically because in my childhood mind. See, I would go to the arcades, but I was young, and I'd get like 1 quarter from
You
grandma.
want that game
right?
at home.
And I wanted to play Space Invaders, but I would have to sit and wait behind all the big kids who had quarters lined up on the machine. So I was like, I want to get the Atari 2600 so I could play Space Invaders at home. And actually, Space Invaders was a pretty good port. However, Pac-Man, not so much.
I heard the port they did of Ms. Pac-Man was much better on the 2600, yeah.
Which I never got. I
Yeah.
did not get it. And the other downside of it was, and what really bothered me was, if you were really into those arcade games, after 3 levels on Pac-Man or 3 levels on Ms. Pac-Man, they had a little cutscene. You didn't get any of that on the Atari 2600. See? So, but you're right. Nowadays there are emulators. So, yes, I would have believed it if you had told 12-year-old me that, because I saw what we were capable of then, and I'm like, we're really close now. Missile Command actually was pretty good. The only thing that was missing was the trackball, which was eventually available later on.
Atari did pretty good with those peripherals. They used to have those paddle things, right? Yeah.
Yep.
But I remember they had a lot of games with the trackball. Marble Madness was a trackball game.
Yep. And what is a trackball but basically a mouse?
Yep.
Just an inverted mouse.
It's funny. A lot of those, when they released some of those older arcade games on PC, if you bought one of those mice that had like the ball on top, you could use them like the trackball.
Yeah.
Older, like they were aware of those were out, and they would try to make them compatible with those special mice. Yeah,
That's very, very interesting. And actually, see, I think you could get really clever because of the way that a trackball works and the way those original Atari 2600 joysticks worked, you could make the games use either. And here's why. If you ever opened up one of those joysticks, what it literally was a pad with 4 buttons, and the stick pressed down on each of those 4 points.
right.
And it would press on 2 of them to do diagonally. And basically, a trackball was the same thing. It had a little wheel here, a little wheel here, a little wheel here, a little wheel here. And as you'd move the ball around, it would make the wheels spin, and the combination of those 4 coordinates told the game what direction. So and it was simple technology and used very, very cleverly. And that's another thing that I've been looking at recently. There's YouTubers that they're just way more technically minded than I am, and they talk about how they did some very clever things with the limitations of older games. They only had so much memory. How were they going to do this? You know, they came up with a lot of tricks. That was actually true in the early arcade games, too. I think the one that most people know is Space Invaders. Very, very low memory game. So as it moved, you know, all of those sprites moving on the screen took up memory. And as you would destroy the aliens, there were less sprites on the screen. So it would start moving faster. And that wasn't the original plan. It was the freeing up of limitations of the processor that made it go faster. And the guy that created it was like, actually, that's not a bug, that's a feature. And it really was.
Made the game hard before the end.
Well, it was one he didn't plan, but it really was part of the game. That's what made it good, you know?
How much?
Because that last one...
BC Europe says, how much time Yar's Revenge stole from my life? Laugh out loud, no regrets. That's funny.
I did enjoy
Yar's Revenge. That was a good one. That was made specifically
for the console. Remember the commercial for that. Yar's Revenge is here from Atari. Have you played Atari today?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And that was a good game.
I did like that one.
That was not based on an arcade game. That was made specifically for the console.
Yes, yes, it was. You played this space bug that ate its way through an energy shield in order to shoot the bad guy inside or whatever it was.
They had a lot of imagination back then. You know, with what they did with the game.
Well, that was it, because you had these very blocky looking graphics, like that haunted house we're looking at, right? All it is eyes.
Yeah. But
you had the cover art that was focused on somebody's eyes, so you get the intent, right? You've got that weird looking bat, which was basically the same kind of sprites that they had in that adventure. That was this bat that kind of flew across, and it didn't look like a bat, but you knew what it was. And when you looked at the artwork, you're like, okay, and you could imagine that was a bat coming at you and so forth, you know. So,
yeah, cool stuff.
And let's face it, some games made use of those very limited graphics better than others. My comparison would be, on the one hand, Activision's Pitfall, and on the other side, Atari's Indiana Jones.
Pitfall was a better Indiana Jones game
and it was better graphics. Yeah. The running animation was really, really good, considering what they had to work with.
I had Pitfall the Mind Adventure for the Super Nintendo, and in the game you could unlock the original Pitfall and play it on your Super Nintendo. That was a neat little feature,
I loved Pitfall. I really, really did. I never played Pitfall 2, though. That's the one where you go around collecting coins. I never got to play that one.
Mind Adventure was interesting because it was done in that like Aladdin art style, or like Earthworm Jim, where it was very heavily animated, and they actually got the guys that worked on Don Bluth movies to do the animation for it. Like, I think the guy that worked on Ferngully did the animation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's neat. Yeah, Activision put that out,
Yeah, just like Space Ace and Dragon's Lair.
That was later on, but this was like a side-scrolling game, but you're right. That kind of same aesthetic, yeah. Cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think about, animated side-scroller type games. I think of King's Quest.
Well, there's that, yeah.
Also, yeah. And here was the other thing about those CD games. We've kind of gotten off the horror now. Now we're talking games in general, right? You because it was a CD, right? If it wasn't overly animation heavy, you might have enough room where you could put a song on it. So the closing credits might be this like power ballad, right? and you could put that CD-ROM into a CD player and play that song.
And you could probably put it on an iPod now too.
Yeah, exactly.
If the kids still used iPod, which they don't because they don't make iPods anymore. But
and when I say power ballad, what I mean is check out, what's it called? On YouTube, look up King's Quest. I want to say King's Quest 3 or 4. The name of the song is Girl in the Tower. It sounds like a late 80s power ballad. And I love the song. I love the song. Oh, thank you so much. From Brett Cohen. $5. Is that $5 Australian? I'm not sure how it comes up here. Troy, time for you to tell the others you're the only one that can accept SC?
Super chat.
Oh, super chat. Buy them one lolly each. Better to be sweet. Well, keep in mind, Netter is my wife. She's sitting right across from me. So, she, yeah. There she is. See?
Tim Hayes says it was King's Quest 3.
King's Quest 3. Thank you very much. Oh, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
We didn't have that one. We had the Perils of Rosella. That was 4. And I had 5 on the NES, which was a crime because I liked the old Nintendo. And it did the game pretty well, but it didn't have the graphics the PC version had. And I wish, why didn't you just wait and bring it out on the Super Nintendo? Don't even get me started.
Tim Hayes,
Quest 5.
If you would be willing, Tim, I just made you a moderator. Would you be willing to? Oh, it was King's Quest 4. Yes, King's Quest 3 was his father, King Graham, and the only thing I remember about that was that King Graham, at one point, helps a colony of ants, and it's one of those things. You help the ants, and you think nothing of it. Later on, because you help them, they come back to help you. You're stuck, and then all of a sudden, because you helped them, it was King Antony was the name of their king, and what happens?
Sent by King Antony.
We're coming to help King Graham. We're the ants sent by King Antony. We're coming to help King Graham. And they come and they go up the tree, and I think they like chew away the rope that was holding or whatever. It was wonderful. Tim, if you would be so willing, if you could check on YouTube, find that song "Girl in the Tower" and drop a link below. For everyone. Obviously, I can't play it. That's, somebody else's content. But go check it out. I love this song. It's kind of very repetitive in that very 80s pop song kind of way. But I love that song. Definitely worth checking out. Thank you. Thank you again, Brett. I super appreciate that.
Cool.
We are really close.
You're starting to say that you and I are married, and then you went off on a tangent.
Yeah. So obviously, anything you super chat to me, technically, it's both of ours. We'll take care of Agent Boomer somehow. But I'll tell you what, Netter is this close to being monetized. She's got to just jump through all of YouTube's hoops.
Look at that. And there's the link to Girl in the Tower. We'll have to look for that.
Yeah, I just dropped.
Oh, you got it. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Oh, I spelled it "gur" at the top.
Grr in the tower. We'll beat you up.
I'm gonna put it in my chat too.
Thank you. I'm getting punchy now. I guess that was strong hooch. Yes, it is on YouTube. Thank you. So that's it. That's really our topic. Now we're just kind of BSing. I'm guessing the fact that you've let me go an extra hour, Boomer, means you don't have to work tomorrow.
No, next Saturday I'll be working, but not tomorrow.
Okay.
But I know we got stuff coming up.
Speaking of next week, did we set a topic for next week?
We were going to do, and I don't know, we were toying with the idea of doing a variety show. And I remember I had mentioned perhaps the Paul Lynde Halloween special, or did you want to
I'm going to look at those because if if they are 1 hour each, I may do both of them.
All right, we got to start early then. Okay.
Well, no, it'd be 2 hours. That's still,
Yeah.
it's still regular.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Not early to stream. Just don't dawdle when we start, because I got to work in the
Yeah,
morning.
Troy.
Robbie Benson did the voice of Prince Alexander. I didn't know that. I knew he did the voice of Beast in Beauty and the Beast.
Interesting.
He was also the dungeon master in Mazes and Monsters. Wasn't he?
Really?
I think so.
Mazes
I
and
wanna say-
Monsters. That was Tom Hanks.
Well, Tom Hanks was the one that played the.
Oh, was he the other? Oh, he was the. Oh, I see. The guy. The guy that gets the girl at the end. That's right.
I think it was
Yes.
Robbie Benson,
Yeah, that might have
wasn't
been
it?
him.
Maybe I'm wrong.
So bad.
It's a fuzzy
Mazes and
memory. I don't
Monsters
remember.
is so bad.
It was Robbie Benson.
It was Robbie Benson.
And here's
Okay.
the thing, I just looked him up to see if he was still living. He is. He's 68.
Oh, sure.
Aside from the fact he's got gray hair now,
Yeah.
he looks the same as he did when he was a kid.
Yeah, he always had a baby face. Yeah. That's why when I heard he was the voice of Beast, I was shocked. I'm like, seriously? I mean, that's kind of like when you listen to Rick Astley on the radio, and then you see what he looks like, and you're like, that's Rick Astley? That you picture a big black guy, and it's this little redheaded white kid.
There you go.
You know?
I think he's Irish.
Yeah, probably. I don't know, but anyway. So yeah, next week we will have some good Halloween fun with a couple of old 70s variety shows as a rewatch. I think it'll be really interesting. I think you get a real kick out of it. But we've got a whole week in between then and now. So Saturday night, or for some of you later tonight, 9 Central, 10 Eastern, over on Big Al Presents Films with Friends. We will, yes, Paul Lind is one. The other one is Donnie and Marie, Tim Hayes. Both of them, I think, are on YouTube. Pretty sure. And I'll probably just drop a link, but I'll probably also have it on Cosme as well. So yeah, 9 tomorrow over on Big Al Presents Films with Friends. The original Psycho. For his theme this month has been Hitchcocktober. So 2 weeks ago we watched The Birds. Tomorrow night will be Psycho. And then Sunday, of course, you got all the deleted scenes stuff. You got let's see, you've got Western Cinema Presents at 3 Central, 4 Eastern. You've got Unscripted at 7 Central, followed by Geeky Geezers at 8 Central. What are we going to be talking about, as far as we know so far, on Geeky Geezers, Agent
Well, we're going to be talking about many things. Basically, maybe actors opening up their mouths when they should be keeping them shut. I think I spoke too soon last week. I said we typically don't go after actors unless they run their mouth, and then we've had a couple running their mouth this week, and we're going to talk.
And
about
I think that the general community is starting to have less and less sympathy for these idiots.
Yes,
they need to really get over themselves.
Getting tired of it. Yeah.
So. And
I think part of the problem with some of these public figures that aren't politicians is that they're not taking into consideration that if they start opening their mouth, especially about politics, you might be alienating a huge
half of your audience.
Audience, exactly.
But see, the problem is these people see themselves as so rich and powerful, they think that it doesn't matter. What they don't understand, what actors don't understand, is your career could end at any time, and you no longer have income. So unless you have, really, really good investments, I'm just saying there are actors and actresses that I have met personally that were big stars back in the 80s and 90s, and you saw them on all the magazines, and now they're living in trailer parks, doing GoFundMes to pay for medical bills and I'm just saying. Just saying. Anyway, so we'll talk all about that and some other things on Sunday Geeky Geezers, followed by deleted scenes, The Other Side of Midnight. It's the other side of midnight Eastern time. It's actually a little bit after 11 p.m. Central time zone, where if he's still doing what he was talking about before, midnight number 73, I think he was talking about physical media. So there you go. Monday is a very special Monday night at the movies. I will be having back recurring guest, I suppose, or returning guest, Sin of Sin's Corner, because she is a subject matter expert and superfan of the Halloween series. And we are going to watch the only 2 Halloween films I consider to be in my headcanon, and that is the original Halloween and Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Oh.
Halloween, as John Carpenter envisioned it, was to be an anthology series. It was not supposed to be all Michael Myers all the time. And it certainly was never intended to be the twist-a-plot, choose-your-own-adventure that it became. So those are the 2 we will be watching on Monday with Sin's Corner. That's Monday at 8 Central, 9 Eastern. Link will be provided to watch the movies along with us on Cosme. Tuesday, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern on Deleted Scenes channel, the penultimate episode of Twin Peaks: The Return.
Yep.
It's a big one. A lot.
Everything's coming together.
There's a lot happening there. So buckle in, my friends. And immediately after, followed by the next episode of Blake 7. That's Seek, Locate, Destroy. New villain will be introduced.
Well, it's a new villain every week.
Well, yes, but I mean a new recurring villain.
Oh.
Think of him as kind of like the Darth Vader of Blake 7.
He's the monster.
Nah, yeah, no, more analogous to Darth Vader. And that's Tuesday night. Wednesday, I guess we don't have anything happening as far as we know right now. Thursday, oh, we got a big thing going on Thursday over on Netter's channel, don't we?
We will be having special guest, Tom Kunkel. He's going to be helping me to celebrate that I've reached my 3,000 watch hours. And although I'm not monetized yet, we are still going to celebrate that I've gotten those 3,000 watch hours. And I'm going to be having a special giveaway of an autographed copy of Tom Kunkel's Trouble Is My Business.
Yes.
It's a Blu-ray. And of course, because we're tight, so he signed it for me. We'll also be talking about an update of Island in the Stars and what's been going on with that. So those of you who have invested in the film, and we'll be dropping links next Thursday too for Island in the Stars. You can still donate if you want to get in on that. There's a lot of really great perks. So yeah, we'll be getting updates on that as well. Troy and I have got several perks just because we couldn't make up our minds which ones we wanted. So we got a couple of different ones. But yeah, so next Thursday, some lucky person will get an autographed copy of Trouble Is My Business. And then when I actually become monetized, when YouTube stops, pardon the language, dicking around and pushes me forward, then I will have another special stream where I'll be giving away more things.
Yep. And then, of course, we already told you about next Friday. So that is the week.
Well, do you want people to know what's happening next Saturday?
Yes, what's happening next Saturday, Netter? What's the film a week from later tonight?
Next Saturday, because we're coming into Halloween, we're going to be watching Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
There you go.
Oh, that's a classic.
Sandra Peterson.
Yep.
Before she went insane and man-hating.
Well,
Did she
stuff
really?
happens.
Yes.
There's
Yes,
a mind
yes.
virus going around.
There absolutely is. There absolutely is. It's why I was, she had a comic book that had just come out, and she had an action figure coming out from NECA, and I had them all on order, and then she started shooting off her mouth, and I canceled both. I'm like, I'm not supporting this.
Did you tell our comic book dude to
Yep.
stop?
Oh yeah, a long time ago. Yeah. I have absolutely no interest in supporting people like that. So there we go. That is all I've got. Have I missed anything, Boomer, that we wanted to cover and didn't?
No, I think we got everything. But next week will be a fun kind of pre-Halloween night. So that'll be nice.
Cool.
Cool.
And of course, everybody make sure that you're all subscribed to everybody who's in the description below, which is most of the people that are over here. Subscribe to each other. It's you really should. And those of you that are Blue Wrenches, it's real easy. You could just hit those three little dots next to somebody's name and go to their channel and subscribe. It's easy to do.
I just looked because I was checking to see if they decided to move me forward or not, and I gained 4 new subscribers. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks guys. And I know those were those new names that I saw in there. You guys are wonderful. So glad to have you here. But yep, that's it. So I guess then, Netter, if you want to take us out.
I can do that.
Yep.
I said I'm really excited about hitting my 3,000 watch hours, and I couldn't have done it without your help. I know quite a few of you have had me on different platforms, your phones, your tablets, your computers, different tabs to help me get those watch hours. I'm playing my vids 24/7 to help me get there. So thank you so much for those of you who've done that. I'm hoping that the momentum will just keep going forward with my watch hours for the different streams that I'm either running myself or I'm simulcasting, like I'm simulcasting tonight. I'm really excited about that. So thank you all so very much for that. I had mentioned last night, Curtis Selby is trying to get to his 3,000 hours. He's I think it's about 1,200 or 1,400 hours away. So if you can help him out. And John Doe Juggalo is, I want to say, something like 100 hours away, something like that.
Yeah.
So those two, I know that they are really going towards their 3,000 watch hours. So if you could help those two guys out, that would be amazing. I've been running them both on incognito mode, so that YouTube doesn't know it's me.
Yeah.
And just running them 24/7 since last night on my channel. I put them both on, they've been running full tilt. And with that said,
Yeah.
we can talk amongst ourselves, and that's all well, good, and fun. But it's so much more fun when you guys are joining us in the chat, and you're dropping your comments, your questions, your trivia, being goofy, whatever it may be. And it doesn't feel like we're separated by miles or continents in some cases. It feels like we're all hanging out in the same room. We're enjoying each other's company and having a great time. And you guys, you're not just our friends. You are our family. We love you guys, and we appreciate you so very much. You could be anywhere right now, and you're here, and that's so encouraging. And I love seeing you guys in each of our streams. You don't just encourage us on the panel, you encourage each other in the chat. You guys are wonderful. You're Osmo. And I said the words thank you don't say enough for what you do to encourage us. We really do appreciate you. I said you guys are totally Osmo, so thank you for that. For you newcomers, I'll explain that later, what Osmo means. Basically, that means that it's better than Osmo.
Better than awesome. You're Osmo.
Yeah. There's a story behind it, but I'm not going to tell it right now. But it's better than awesome, yeah. So thank you for being here. Thank you for all of your encouragement. Thank you for the many, many ways that you support us with thumbs up, comments, super chats, super stickers for those who are monetized, like Troy. Memberships, sharing out our streams, whatever it may be. thank you so much for all of that. And until next time, which will be today's Friday, Saturday, over on Big Al's channel, good night and God bless.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. Been a lot of fun. And, yep. Take care and hope to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Good night, ladies.
Good night, sir.
Hit it, sweetheart.